Here's Ishant bowls. Back of the length, edge, taken by Rohit Sharma at second slip. Ishant has the early breakthrough.
England already one down. Dom Sibley back in the hutch.
Akshar Patel is into the attack. Left arm around the wicket. First ball, Johnny Bairstow taken on the pad. Out LBW. In comes Ishant. Two slips in the gully waiting. It's the inducker. Clipped into the leg side by Zach Crawley.
And that's a beautiful stroke. Wowee, we love it. Joe Root drives down the ground like the master he is.
Akshar is in again. That is short. Punched off the back foot by Crawley. And that's another boundary. And Crawley has 50. His fourth Test 50.
Well, take a bow.
Ashwin in. Root taken on the pad. That's very close to LBW. Given! England 74 for 3 as Joe Root walks off LBW to Ashwin for 17 made from 37 balls.
And he's beaten him. Yes, LBW, it sort of had to be. Crawley half forward, the ball runs in with the arm, and I think Ben Stokes is saying, yeah, it doesn't look good, Zach.
Here's Ashwin round the wicket. Bowled in, he's hit the top of off stump. Ollie Pope's been done by the straight honour, and they are 81 for 5. Big appeal for leg before wicket, it might be a bit high, up goes the finger. Akshar Patel's got Ben Stokes for the moment. I fancy England's all-rounder may well review this. It's clipping the top of middle and off.
This is horrible for England. Horrible, horrible, it's a nightmare.
Akshar Patel in his stance picks the bat up, bowling. Just late on it, that's all. Quicker, smarter, better.
England are 93 for 7.
Is Ashwin again, and that carries, does it? It does, it carries to gully. What a lovely, simple bit of cricket.
Akshar Patel in, plays the sweep, does Stuart Broad, gets the top edge, into the deep, caught! Akshar Patel has 5, and England on the verge being dismissed. They're 105 for 9.
Oakswaits taps the ground, goes back to cut, he's bowled in. And India have got a strong position in the game because they've bowled England out for next to nothing here.
And then watching Stuart Broad going in, bit of a grunt, takes the edge, and it's taken by Stokes, low down to his right.
And Stokes is not dropping that. No chance. Oh, maybe he has.
Ben Stokes is actually full on laughing and shaking his head. He can't believe that.
Welcome back to our coverage here on TalkSport 2 of the third Test match between India and England from the Sardar Patel Stadium, the rebuilt stadium, which is the world's largest cricket arena with a capacity of 110,000, and the crowd has been coming in all day. There was a smattering of a few thousand at the start of play, but we've been increasing numbers and capacity up to the allowable limit of 55,000 as the sun has set. The LED lights have illuminated this wonderful auditorium of sport and cricket, and unfortunately England so far have not lived up to the occasion. They've been bowled out for 112 and we have a full session to go. They were dismissed in just 48.5 overs, and India will resume after the dinner break on 5 without loss in reply to England's 112. Remarkably, in that 112, Zach Crawley managed to make a half century, 53, but by and large, including Crawley, the England batsman had no answer to the left-arm spin of Akshar Patel, who took 6 for 38, back-to-back 5-wicket hauls for him against England in this series. And, of course, Ashwin with another 3 wickets, 3 for just 26 in 16 overs. Is there a way back for England? They've got to make a statement in this final session on the first day, you would think. As Steve Harmison said during the course of the first 2 sessions, you can't win a test match on the first day, but you can sure as hell go a long way towards losing it. Darren Gough?
How you doing?
Well,
it's been entertaining stuff, hasn't it, today? Not gone to plan for England. Win the toss. I can imagine it now. Everybody in that dressing room when Joe Root won the toss this morning, jumping up and down thinking, yes, that's half the job done. Yes, half the job done. But then to go out and be in a position now where they're 112 all out and in the field. The good news is but the outfield has been roped during that dinner interval. So there's obviously a bit of due about. And you've got 2 bowlers that have got over 1,000 wickets between them in Test cricket to have a little roll. followed by Jofra Archer, and then we're into the one spinner we've got, Jack Leach. And when you look at how the wickets have fallen today, what is it, 9 to spin already? And we've got one out-and-out spinner in our lineup, Jack Leach. So he's going to have to bowl a few overs, I would say. Come tonight, might not bowl tonight, actually. Well, he's going to have to bowl tonight unless Ben Stokes bowls a few overs. But come tomorrow, we need to take some wickets with us.
We've got 35 overs to go, Kevin Peterson. I'm trying to work out what Goffey meant when he said the good news is that the ground has been roped, the outfield has been roped. That means that there is dew around, and that's not good news for England.
No, it might quicken up. Go on, Kev.
It may quicken up, but then it means it's going to skid onto the bat. And we've seen a surface today where the wickets have come from spinners. 9 wickets have come from spinners. So is it going to stop?
We've only got
the
one of
spin?
them, though.
We only got one. I think Joe Root might have to bowl. He might have to bowl a hell of a lot actually in this Test match if they don't bowl too well. But yeah, with 35 overs left in the day, I agree with you, Manners. You can win Test matches or you can lose them on the first day, and England have gone a long way to losing this Test match on the first day.
Well, it's this next session, isn't it? Let's be fair. It's a huge session. What is it, 35 overs?
Yeah, 35
overs left. I mean, if you go on the scoring rate against seam, it's been pretty comfortable, hasn't it? The way England scored against the seam bowlers, really. I think Zach Crawley tucked into them, within some boundaries. So if it goes the same way, India are going to be up at our score by end of play, aren't they? So it's going to be very difficult to come back. It's just whether they can take 6 wickets with them.
Well,
tonight.
I was going to say, you'd give him 112. You can have 112 if we can have 6 wickets. I was just thinking.
Oh, you'd snatch your hand off, yeah. If they can take 6 with them tonight, it'd be massive for England. It gives them a shot. Because it comes down to it, India do have to bat last on it.
Once again, it's just the way in which England lost their wickets, and that's the concern. And that's the worry from today's passage of play. The replays are showing bright and clear in our eyes here, and if you missed any of what happened this morning or what happened earlier, there was poor technique. It just goes down to poor technique. It was sort of rabbit in headlights. There's a crowd, there's noise, there's spinners, some spin, some don't spin. And when you've got that sort of natural variation, you have to have a solid defence. I don't think the England players had a solid defence today. They didn't have a game plan today.
There are 2 kinds of soft, aren't there? We talk about a soft dismissal. There's the soft dismissal when you're playing rash shots and playing inappropriate shots and being caught, and then there's the soft kind of dismissals where the equivalent of a soft handshake.
Well, there was no positivity.
That's right, exactly. That's what I mean, is that England's batsmen just seemed to me...
Difficult to be positive, though, when you don't have a defence. When you don't have a game plan, it's really difficult. Now, granted, that shouldn't be an excuse because they've been in the subcontinent for 6 weeks now. They've just had 10 days off. So they should have had enough time to practice the right method and the right technique to get yourself out there to be able to defend their best delivery. Because then that's the only time as a batter you feel comfortable. When you can defend the bowler's best ball.
Two things come to mind. Is that Joe Root said at the toss, we know it will spin at some stage during the game, and that to me,
they all got done by the straight one.
I thought today. Well, I thought at the moment. What about today? And I just don't think they were up for expecting for quite such a spin battle on day one.
Yeah, maybe England thought this is going to be great to bat on today. Yeah. We've won such a good toss here. Let's just rest on our laurels and just go. But red soil, it's the red soil they played on. You gave a perfect description that you read off the internet somewhere, Goffey. You definitely didn't know it before this morning. Google's a fantastic thing. But it is red soil, and it does spin, and it will spin.
It is, and when it comes down to it, but the thing is, when I talked there about dew, yes, it can skid on, but I think with England's bowlers, when you're looking about bringing, because of the selection now, and they've purely played the selection on bowling under floodlights. So this is a massive passage of play for England because they've picked their side purely because of this situation. Army mentioned it earlier, I talked about it, but he probably thought it was going to be tomorrow tea time or tomorrow evening, but it's actually on the first day now, and England are fighting to stay in the game.
Here's Stuart Broad, first delivery after the dinner break, and it's nudged away towards mid-wicket, only as far as Jack Leach, and there is no run. Well, as we mentioned, England have to just forget about how many runs they have or don't have on the board, and concentrate on conditions as they are now, as they are encountering them now. No high floodlight pylons, as is still the case in the vast majority of floodlit cricket grounds, but LED lights all the way around the interior rim of this two-tier stadium. So a whole different concept in lighting. Is Broad once again, and that's pushed towards the gully, very well fielded by Ollie Pope, takes 2 steps to his right, then dives. One of the consequences is that there are no shadows, but it also it removes the complications that can come with high catches, but when you're fielding at point, square of the wicket, apparently the sort of square slap drive or the cut shot, that can be an awkwardness.
You say that it takes out and negates any of the high pillared or those high towers of lights. However, they call it the Ring of Fire, I think they call it in Dubai, the Dubai International Stadium, and
he is Broad, over-pitched and driven beautifully by Rohit Sharma through extra cover for 4. That's exquisite. I mean, it was right there. It was right under his nose. It was half volley, really, but super shot. It is Ring of Fire, yeah.
Yeah, it is the Ring of Fire, and actually it's quite difficult to catch there under lights. You see a lot of drop catches in the boundary because you have got lights all the way around, and it's got more of an opportunity to catch a light if you're square of the wicket in the lights on the other side. So it looks great. It's amazing that you don't see the shadows, but for players, you certainly know that those lights are visible. And I tell you, for someone who couldn't catch, the more lights, the more excuses.
It's
This is a
horrible.
great stadium.
Is Stuart Broad. 2 slips in a gully, 3 slips in a gully, beg your pardon, and that one is pushed out square of the wicket on the offside. I mean, I've been out to the outfield in Dubai and most grounds, but only to conduct a toss or do an interview. Never had to catch a ball.
Manners, it is, and I've played under obviously lights on numerous occasions. And
Did you play cricket with
Yeah, I'm not that old, Kev, yeah. But it's horrible when the ball goes up. If you take your eye off it for once, that you've lost. That's it. You've gone. You've absolutely gone, and it's just guesswork. It really, really is.
Stuart Broad once more lines up at the top of his run-up, begins now, steaming into his running, and that one nips back quite appreciably, and Broad holds his hand up and sucks air through clenched teeth as if to express how close that was to Rohit Sharma's off stump. And tell you what, it wasn't too far away at all. It wasn't an obvious off-cutter that I could detect. It just has nipped back though.
That's just the Stuart Broad delivery where
Yeah.
he don't quite get his wrist right and it nips back. Didn't mean to bowl it, but it nips back, and that sort of delivery, that's what catches the batsman out, because he's thinking, oh, that's just seam up straight ball. He ends up nipping back off stump cartwheels.
India 9 without loss in reply to England's 112 all out. Broad is in once again, and that's pushed defensively by Rohit Sharma back to the bowler.
Well, I'm going to ask you, Kev, I mean, when you're out there fielding, right, which would you prefer to field under? Black sky, day-nighter, or clear blue sky in Australia?
Neither.
I used to hate the clear
The
blue.
clear blue sky, yeah.
When the ball
yeah.
went up, I used to hate it. I've gone to fielding practice where I've not got a pour on 5 or 6 in a row, and you're just thinking, if one comes to me today, that's it. Just, it's gone. There's no way I'm catching it. Confidence is shot.
Absolutely, it is. It's weird, isn't it? That glare and the colour of the sky, the deep blue of the sky in the southern hemisphere. But I mean, aesthetically, this looks beautiful, doesn't it? You're not seeing shadows. It looks tremendous.
Just a glint of bright light reflecting off various parts of the stadium. I don't mean in a distracting way, but it really is quite a picture, quite a sight. Here's Jimmy Anderson to Shubman Gill, pushed out on the onside. Actually, I wanted to ask Jared Kimber, how long is it, Jared, before you get the information that tells you how much the ball is seaming and how much it is spinning? And because I remember,
when's our next tour? Because we don't get it from India.
Oh,
The BCCI don't allow that information to leave the country. I can have a look at Hawkeye for you and try and measure it on my screen.
I thought you developed a hacking system where you were able to go in the back end and extract this information, or was I not supposed to say that?
No, there are things that I can do.
Forward comes Shubman Gill, pushes it out towards mid-wicket, and there's no... I just want to know how much spin there has been on the first day and whether it's more than average. I assume it has. It is.
I can't say that. There are things I can find and I can measure, but that's not one.
I thought stats were everything these days. I keep having all these people arguing with me on social media, but stats tell you everything. You can't tell us the stats behind how much it's spinning and bouncing.
Well, I can, but the BCCI do not allow it, Goffey. I would love to tell you.
Okay. Well, we've had swing, seam and spin here on the first day. Here is Jimmy Anderson. That is pushed defensively by Shubman Gill up towards mid-off. The one thing that it hasn't done is go through the top that I've seen. I mean, it hasn't gone through the top on the day one as it did in the second test.
There were a couple of balls that misbehaved just before the dinner break. Jimmy Anderson bowled to Shubman Gill. But yeah, it's actually been okay, hasn't it? Hasn't been horrible by any stretch of the imagination. That's why I think that 112 is... Yeah, it's below par, and I'm pushing way below par.
Well, there's been no wickets from a ball that's pitched, turned from on leg stump and gone outside and caught the glove of the bat, has there? It's all been the straight on ball from Axar Patel. It seems to be the most popular mode of dismissal.
Here is Jimmy Anderson again. He's a beautiful line, just on that fourth stump, making the batsman play, asking questions, and this time Shubman Gill has the answer, nudges it out on the onside. You said, KP, that 250 be a good score, and I like that from time to time. It's always nice to see 500 when then a pitch deteriorating and a sort of classical test match, but from time to time to break it up a little bit. I like a test match where 250 is a good score, as long as the pitch doesn't then disappear.
I think it's just about being realistic on the surface that you're playing, and realistic on a surface like this is around 250, because
Anderson in again, and that keeps a bit low. It's chopped down into the ground and fielded by Pope. No run.
Runs are hard to come by. Gill's batting here now. He's on 0 from 20 deliveries. It was only Crawley that got away quite quickly earlier.
Jimmy Anderson was just at the top of his run-up before the previous delivery, was flexing his left ankle, and he just reached down and touched it. Hopefully that's just the wear and tear of your average 38-year-old who's played for 20 years. Here is Anderson once again, and this one was chopped away off the back foot by Shubman Gill. Again, straight to backward point where Bairstow fields.
He's playing those late, isn't he? Really
Very
late.
late.
He's trying to get him down to third man. Obviously no third man down there. Jimmy Anderson bowling back of a length. I think both him and Broad, the way they've bowled so far this innings, they've both bowled just a yard too short, would you say? Broad tried to get one up the last over, but threw it too far up, and ended up getting driven through the covers. So it's a fine line. You haven't got much margin, but you've got to try and take wickets with the new ball. You've got seam-dominated attack. You've got two guys who get wickets for fun. You've got slips in place. You've got to try and drag the batsman forward without giving them half volleys.
But what do you do as a captain? Is it the risk and reward way of playing the game? Do you tell Anderson and Broad, listen, I'm okay. Drive me 3 times, 4 times through the cover. Try and get that slip. You got to go looking for the wickets. Do you go searching for the wickets? What do you do on a surface like this?
Well, it depends what sort of bowler you are. I mean, if you tried to tell Stuart Broad to pitch it up, it's not going to happen.
Here's Stuart Broad from the Adani Pavilion end, and that's pushed away into the offside, and a quick single from Rohit Sharma. Jimmy Anderson, by the way, has been operating from the GMDC end. This just rolls off the tongue. That's the
There's a dance
Gujarati
in
Mineral
that.
Development Corporation. Sorry?
There's a dance in that.
It's the Gujarati Mineral Development Corporation end. As I said, it just trips off the tongue. Not as easy as the Jimmy Anderson end at Old Trafford.
Is that Google as well?
No, of course I remembered that from my first trip to Ahmedabad in 1996. The
I was there.
GMDC end. Here is Broad again, and it's slapped down into the ground by Shubman Gill without timing. Bottom edge. Johnny Bairstow.
How many test matches do you reckon you've done?
Well,
Do you
actually,
know?
it's interesting.
Yeah. Do you get a microphone for 110?
It's a really interesting question, actually, because there's some discussion about amongst people who care about these things whether this would count because you're not at venue.
Of course it counts. It's a test match.
Well,
I just know that the management, so you talk about the management, and yeah, clearly they are part of teams, but yeah, a couple of the management have done 100 test matches. I think Phil Neal, the retiring Phil Neal, I think Phil Neal's on his way out. I mean, yeah,
He did 200, did he?
150, 175.
Manners, you're well beyond 100, surely. Couple of hundred? 300, yeah, I would have thought so.
300 test matches.
I haven't counted for a long time, but it was in the 290s the last time somebody counted them for me. There's a problem with the bowler's footmarks
somebody who
here.
doesn't care, who just chucked out the old 300. Last time we counted 290.
in the region of what's going on here, KP? What's the hold up? There's a problem with the footmarks, it seems to me, or Joe Root's involved, so it's obviously not Jimmy. Stuart Broad is having an issue. I'm just trying to work out has the umpire warned him for running on the pitch? Is that what's happened?
No, it's got to be where he's landing on the foothold, surely. It's got to be.
So, in other words, the foothold is disintegrating and breaking up, and it's created a little crater there, little cavity, and Stuart Broad feels like he might go over on his ankle. But what's the solution?
Well, like Jimmy Anderson did in the last over, and he was touching his ankle because there's a lot of movement at the crease, so they've got to obviously bring on the tools they do to make it more compact, put more dirt in there, more red soil in there, and smash it down. So it's going to turn from the bowling crease now.
They repair the bowler's footmarks traditionally between days of play, at the close of play, and they use a combination of soil and a little bit of cement, don't they? Not fully cement, because clearly that's not going to help a bowler's ankles. But this just seems to that's interesting. That I mean,
well, it is on day one.
Yeah,
not ideal.
Exactly, like serious disintegration.
Not when you got three seamers in your lineup.
It's not. This is not a 5-day test match. There's no way this is a 5-day test match. I mean, the bowlers, they do put crazy amount of stress and strain. Hey? Ankles, knees, backs.
Well, so the ground staff came out with a long-handled flat hammer, and we're just thumping down, trying to break the sides of the bowler's footmark area. I don't know if that'll help. I mean, it's just dust. I mean, you're just creating. I suppose if you flatten it a little bit. Here is Broad then continuing, and it's nudged away by Shubman Gill out to mid-wicket where Leach fields.
Harmy shouting across the room here, saying it's 8 times the bowler's body weight that they put through their ankles and their knees and their joints. Every single delivery that they bowl. So actually, when there is a bit of when there is a bit of a crater that is forming, you'd want it to be perfect. You'd want to make sure, because of confidence and hitting your lines and hitting your lengths, building pressure. You say you bat in partnerships, you bowl in partnerships too.
Into the 8th over here, and Stuart Broad is in. Once again, hits him on the pad. There's a big celebration appeal. It's an appeal celebration from Stuart Broad, who's carried on running. He's absolutely, totally convinced that he's nailed Shubman Gill. LBW, it might have been a bit high, and it was certainly heading towards leg stump rather than middle, but Stuart Broad has persuaded his captain Joe Root into going for the review.
Well, Ben Folkes, first thing straight away said hi. He ran towards Brodie and said hi. So
not so sure about height actually. I'm thinking more missing leg. It's hitting the outside of his left leg.
At best, it's umpire's call. It might be hitting top of leg, but I immediately thought height. Shubman Gill's tall man. He's 6'2", and that's hit him on the high part of the knee roll. It was also heading towards leg stump. Here we go.
Pitching outside of impacted line.
Hitting top of leg.
Call on field
umpire's call. Not out,
and
that's how it remains. England retain the review, but that will be no consolation.
Not at all, and it's a long naught so far for Gill. You talk about wanting to get off the mark, you talk about wanting to be busy. We've all talked this morning or today about intent. Naught from 24, there's no intent there. England players, they're looking up at the big screen and they just think everything is against them. Stokes' catch no catch earlier, an LBW that doesn't go for them, Root's dismissal earlier. So many things that could have gone for England that haven't gone for England.
India 10 without loss in reply to England's miserable 112 all out, and Stuart Broad had a catch dropped and now an LBW gone against him. Here is Broad once again, and Gill comes forward again, playing defensively up onto the offside. You're listening to commentary here on TalkSport 2 of the third test between India and England, with the support of the Times and the Sunday Times. Try it free for 1 month at thetimes.co.uk/cricket offer. Subscription auto renews unless cancelled. Terms and conditions apply. And many thanks to the Times.
Many thanks to the Times. He is charging in, Stuart Broad. I give him some due. He's realised it's a good time to bowl under lights, pink ball. He was desperate to play this test match.
Last ball of the 8th over, and it's driven by Gill firmly up to Jimmy Anderson at mid-on, and there's no run. That's now 8 overs, and India remain 10 without loss in reply to India's 112. More from Darren Gough, and then it'll be Mark Nicholas.
From communication I've had with Stuart over the past few weeks, I think one of the things he said is, but if you weren't going to play a test match, if you were going to play one, he'd want it to be the day-nighter. He's got his opportunity. He's playing back-to-back tests. Didn't have much success in that first one in Chennai, but here under lights he backs himself with his record in Test cricket. What is it, 517 Test polls? Wants to add to it. Shubman Gill, someone who normally plays with a lot of freedom, is finding it difficult out there. He's 0 of 26 deliveries, and Rohit Sharma, 2 players actually that like to play a few shots, like to score quickly, and they found it very difficult, Mark.
Well, it's a measure of how well England have bowled, how tidily England have bowled, and a measure of their commitment to the cause here. I think we saw England play a lot of loose cricket when batting first, and I think we're seeing India play pretty tight cricket. Here's Anderson. He's left alone by Rohit Sharma. A lot of balls outside off stump he could have played at, has chosen not to. He's got 10 from his 23 balls, and Gill, as you just heard, not off the mark from 26. England are getting enough out of the surface to keep more than interested, and you do feel it's the sort of pitch that when you first go in on might be tricky, so England are just desperate to keep a handle on this game. It's very tense at the moment. It's that situation where the sides are kind of jousting and you're waiting for someone to blink. Anderson now cruising in, bowls, and it's left alone. Another one very wide of off stump. He hasn't got it, neither of them have got it to swing yet in the period since the lunch break, I suppose we call it, the dinner break probably it's called. It did swing early on, enough to really encourage particularly Anderson. Broad bowled a little short, like he was wary of defending such a low score, and the only time that he's over-pitched he was driven beautifully by Rohit Sharma, as is his way, through extra cover. The game has very rarely seen any more attractive looking batsman than Rohit Sharma. Anderson again now. That's beaten him. Lovely little nipper. Just a teasing area outside off stump that Rohit finds hard to resist. A sort of stricter, more obdurate opening batsman would definitely leave that line alone, but he goes with it and just misses this. It bounces a touch, it seems a touch. All enough, as I say, to keep the bowler interested.
He wants to hit it, doesn't he, Rohit Sharma? It's the kind of player that he is. Leaving 3 in a row, 4 in a row, it's just not his vibe. He hits the ball so beautifully through the offside, does Rohit Sharma. Plays a pull shot so well.
This could be England. On a dark day with the lights on, 3 slips of gully, a cover mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, long leg. Very orthodox field, a hint of movement. 2 good fast medium bowlers, well, 2 superb fast medium bowlers in action against one of the best players going around and one of the best, or most promising young players going around. But no, it's Gujarat. It's the new stadium, Sardar Patel Stadium. Good crowd in. 50% of capacity, so maybe by now I would think 55,000, if they have all bought tickets, might be nearby. Here's Anderson, and he's just back of a length there actually, didn't quite pitch it full enough to see if it swung. Goffey, is he a bit short as Sharma defends comfortably?
No, I think with Jimmy Anderson, I really like the way he's bowled. And the reason why batsmen find it difficult against him, he bowls that line there, but because he can swing the ball both ways, with very little change in his action, Mark, he's always in the game. Because you see with Rohit Sharma there, even with the experience he's got of playing, he's wanting to play up balls out there just in case it is Jimmy's in-swinger, which we've seen him dismiss so many batsmen over the years.
Nice full ball, that one, but no swing, you see, and it's hit slap bang in the middle of Rohit Sharma's bat, goes to mid-off for no run. 9 gone, 10 for no wicket. Remember, England bowled out for 112, 6 for 38 for Akshar Patel. A fabulous performance by India with the ball. And what's the word? Lackluster, not quite the word. An indifferent one for England with the bat, or some would say poor. You're listening to a commentary of the third test, and it's TalkSport 2 that we're on, though we switch occasionally to TalkSport 1. We're also with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team, writing with an edge, of course. Mike Atherton there, their senior correspondent, and we're delighted to be in partnership with them. I was thinking about the amount of tests you two play. We talk about the coverage of tests, and Neil Manthorpe saying he'd done over 300. I'd have done a lot, and I would have done pretty much all of the ones that you both play, because I started with Sky in Australia in 94-5, which was your first big tour abroad, and I was certainly still going when you retired, so I'd have covered a lot of the cricket that you played. So I got lucky with two entertainers there, I think.
Well, you're going around the world doing it.
How many would you have done?
Well, a lot, wouldn't it?
Hundreds.
Hundreds, yeah.
Follow the sun, don't you, Mark?
And I never don't look forward to a morning of test cricket, fun enough. I think
special time.
Yeah, I do. Every time I go to a test match, I'm as excited as I was when maybe not as when you first go. First test I watched live was 1973 at Lord's, and Gary Sobers got 150 and Rohan Kanai got 120 or something like that. England got hammered. West Indies got a huge score. Geoffrey Boycott was out hooking Keith Boyce just before the close of play. Keith Boyce or Van Bernholder, one or the other, just before the close of play, kicked himself, caught on the boundary. Very unlike Geoffrey. I remember the day so well. It was the day of the bomb scare, actually. The day I was there 2 days, but one of them was the bomb scare, and the ground was cleared, and Dickie Bird and the other umpire sat in the middle of the pitch protecting it, almost literally, potentially at least, with their lives. Why this long chat and delay? They're hammering away at those footholes, which really is a frustration. It shows just how loose that soil is, and why that powdery look to the soil is now spread across all the ends, and it'll be driving the England seamers mad. Broad's got a smile on his face and a thumbs up now, but we're almost ready to go.
It is an exciting period, isn't it? Even this morning, the morning of we're a long way away. But that first morning of a test match.
We were, yeah. I think test matches are such events, aren't they? They're not one-offs because they go on for 5 days. They're real events, things that last in your memory if great things happen, and often even when they don't. The opportunity to do things none others have done. Here's Broad now, steams in and bowls just a little short, and finally Shubman Gill is off the mark with a remarkable cut shot, actually, an unorthodox one through extra cover.
He's been wanting to do that for a while now. He's just hit backward point on a couple of occasions, but he's standing leg side of it, and he's looking to pierce that offside field. This was a little bit wide, and if you've been in for as long as he's been in, something short and wide you're not going to miss out on. Broad just erring on line. Length good. Length actually very good. It's the nickable length.
When he cuts it, well, when he hits it for 4 and he knows that he's hit it right, he just stands there. Oh, that's a jaffer from Broad. A bouncy leg cutter. Beats Shubman Gill on the back foot.
Well, what happens as well, though, as a bowler there, Mark, and one of the reasons he's probably got hit for 4 there and cut for 4, it was a wide ball, very unlike Stuart Broad's. But when you keep having the guys come out, the groundsmen, keep fixing those footholds, as a fast bowler, it plays with your mind, because you know when you're hitting that, it's disturbing the surface and you're moving, so you don't feel confident. So you end up either coming a little bit wider, and then that can throw your whole action offline. as we saw with Stuart Broad there, he dragged it down and it was just a hit me shot, wasn't it? A cut shot. So he can play with your mind.
Back goes Shubman Gill and defends as the ball nips back at him. An iota this time. He's showing patience and resolve. He's a smart cricketer. 14 for no wicket. This is the 10th over. That's how tight the game is. England recoiling from being bowled out earlier for 112. Sorry state of affairs indeed. Some batting to forget, but a very good 50 from Zach Crawley, the only thing that gave any cause for optimism, not least amongst Indian batsmen who thought, OK, well, we can play on this pitch. 3 slips in the gully. Here's Broad again, and Shubman Gill again back defending on that back foot.
Yeah, I think that just having a look at the field position, just having a look at the lengths where Broad's bowling, I'd actually risk. There's 3 slips, there's a gully, there's a backward point, there's a mid-wicket, a straight mid-wicket, a mid-on, a mid-off. I'd risk a couple of boundaries. I'd risk a couple of boundaries straight down the ground. I'd say, come to me, come and hit me down the ground. I'd look to nick off one of Shubman Gill or Rohit Sharma here. I think this is just putting wear and tear into the ball. You're losing the hardness of the ball.
Broad again, and forward
Better.
comes Gill. Lovely forward move. That's much better length. I agree with that. Bring the man forward, and it gets an excellent forward defensive stroke. Frankly, and I hate being critical, but that forward defensive stroke was more solid than some of the ones we saw from England.
Absolutely, and we've not done it enough. We've not made them come far enough forward. I think they've been out to sit back. India, we bought some good deliveries, which you would expect. It's a new ball, it's a pink ball. Playing under lights, there's a bit more movement than normally there would be in India, but we've just tended to go a little bit shorter than what we should be.
Here he is again, Vandanaran, and again lovely length, and this time Gould caught on the crease, but it's okay, he gets enough bat on it. End of the over, 14 for no wicket. You know, for the first time in these test matches away, Sri Lanka and India, Joe Root looks as if he's been hit by a mighty punch.
Well, it does. And do you know something? It's not a bad thing, actually, because everybody seems to think you win the toss in India, you win the game. But this is proof. Obviously, there's a long way to go yet. But when you're sitting at 112 all out, having won the toss, and now India are sitting at 14 for none, it's a massive part of the game. Because if India go on and win this game, there's a long way to go. But if they do, they'll say, well, see, you don't have to win the toss to win the game in India.
No, and it was might have been Michael Clarke. I don't think it was Ricky Ponting who said to me, I did the toss out in the middle in somewhere, and I said, "Oh, good toss to win, Clarkey." He said, "Only if you bat well," and that's exactly your point. It'll be Anderson to continue. God, it is a big stadium. There's some of these wide shots on the television screen show it. Anderson bowls a nice ball at off stump on a full length, but it's easily defended, and that's because the ball's not moving. Since it was brand new, and we'd heard all these stories about the final layer of lacquer being the thing that might protect it and it may swing for longer because of it, since it was brand new, Steve Harmison, it hasn't really swung.
No, it hasn't, Mark, and it's when you look at what's happened after that dinner break, it's gone from doing not loads, but enough to keep the bowler interested before the break.
Oh, bowled. Good delivery, nipped back a bit, came off the inside edge for a single though to square leg.
And then all of a sudden after the break it hasn't done a great deal, and the only thing I can think of is the lights now have taken proper effect. There's no sort of in between twilight, and when the lights take proper effect and as it goes into the night, there's a lot more dew, and I just wonder if the dew factor we've seen getting, roping the field around, maybe the temperature's dropped a little bit to make that the ball isn't as it isn't as spicy, and it's not doing half as much as what it was before the dinner break.
Anderson is back to the end of his mark, steadied himself. We've seen it happen so many times as he comes in so easily to the crease. Lovely stride pattern, he bowls a good length ball, it's defended. Have I ever seen a bowler that, well, Glenn McGrath I suppose, who so consistently hits a spot that asks a batsman a question?
You're asking somebody who couldn't hit a picnic blanket sometimes, and you're talking about two bowlers there who could hit basically a beer mat or a little
handkerchief, yeah.
It's so mechanical. It is.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
frightening how good them
Curly
two crosser
Ambrose
bowlers.
would be the other.
Yeah, very
Those
good.
three,
yeah,
I would
yeah.
say. Yeah. Those three. Anderson again now, pumping the arms, reaching the crease, and that's a beautiful pull stroke. That really is. Shubman Gill into position, swiveled, and struck. And Kep was in total control of it. Hit it down, bang, 4.
He's been waiting for that, I think, Mark. He's been sitting there waiting, eyeing the length, waiting for it, and he'll probably thinking straight back down the ground, straight back down the ground. If he just errs a little bit straighter on that length, I'm going to have him. And boy, he did. What a fantastic shot this is. Not miles short, but dismissive. Very, very good shot by the young Indian opening batsman.
Really, really nice looking player. Talented player. Slightly unorthodox, some of the executions of these shots, but they're very good. Now that's a little just short of off stump, but he looks to cut, but it never got to him. I don't think Anderson got his wrist quite right behind the ball, and nothing comes from his under edge that actually rolls out into the offside. Certainly not trying to hit the ball too hard. Probably a little variation in pace there, actually.
Yeah, variation in pace, definitely. The thing about Gill I like is he's not worried about foot movement. He trusts his hands, and the two shots that he's played so far, the broad cut shot and the shot off the back foot there from Anderson, not a great deal of foot movement. He picks his bat up and looks to hit the ball.
Back he goes, defends, half thinks of a single. Anderson's floundering on the ground as he slipped and fell. Shubman Gill is sent back by Rohit Sharma. Everybody's calmed down. Jofra Archer wearing two hats has the ball, and it's 19 for no wicket.
I think it's time for Jofra Archer. I think it is time. England needs something to happen, and something to happen very, very quickly, and that could be Archer time. Somebody who's not going to look for a huge amount of swing, going to make impact through the air, and Jofra hitting this pitch could be the answer, just to break this partnership up, because it's looking quite solid. It's not running away from England, but actually these two batsmen look as though they're in a decent bit of nick and a good working order.
And as if they've worked out Anderson and Broad for the moment.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
We've just had a viewing of the lesser sighted Bess.
No, I didn't.
He came out in a bib.
He come out in a bib, yeah.
Bring a drink or something to somebody. Dom Bess, who might well have been playing in this match, but was not chosen. Anderson is just a little. He's sucking it in a bit after this spell of 6 overs, and so he's sure to be rested now. And Archer will take over. Then it's a question of when Leach comes into the attack. His figure 6 overs, 4 maidens, none for 6, and Akash Chopra has joined us. We'll just wait for Broad to bowl this first ball of this over before we come to him. But Akash, just so you know, you pick up on where we are. We're talking that it's time for Jofra Archer. Here comes Broad again, and it's left alone outside off stump. Still 19 for no wicket. Akash, anything to report specifically? We're saying that it stopped swinging, and we're saying that England should get Archer on.
Absolutely. I was actually slightly surprised that Jofra didn't really start with the new ball, because he was the standout English bowler in the first innings of the first test match, and those memories are still fresh in my mind, where he dismissed both these guys. Rohit Sharma caught behind, and then a good catch by Anderson to dismiss Gill. So why would you not unleash him right away?
Broad again, defence on the back foot, much tad more hurried there was Rohit Sharma, but anyway he kept it out. Well, the reason I think would be that these guys have about 1,100 test wickets between them. They're vastly experienced when the ball does move. There was a hint of swing, quite a lot of swing in Anderson's first over, and Broad's chosen for the job specifically to bowl with that new ball. It's where he's experienced, so they probably thought give it to the two who have it, have it all behind them.
Well, okay, fine. So I hear you, but just horses for courses. If you've got Jofra, Jofra under lights, extra pace, that's likely to ask most pertinent questions. Yeah. So if time was not with the new ball, then of course the time is now for him to be introduced, because that extra pace is going to create opportunities.
I think the lights have gone again, Mark.
Oh, we do. We got a light problem, Akash.
Yes, we do, but the good things with these LED lights is that it's unlike those floodlights where it takes time to warm up and just become properly bright. They come on quite quickly, and you'll be back on in no time. So as we speak, the lights are coming on, and hopefully it'll be a very short delay and not too long.
It is frustrating, though.
It is, of course. It takes away something from the batsman, more so from the batsman, because you're concentrating, you're in the middle of your own routines, and suddenly there is a break.
Yes, I was just thinking about the stadium and all the press that it's had in the last week. Obviously the relationship with Mr. Modi and all that sort of thing, it must be annoying for those organising the game. Anyway, here's Broad. He bowls now, a bit short. He steamed in, tried to bowl it fast, banged it in. It gets pulled away. Archer runs round to his right to do the fielding. And there's only one from what looked like a boundary at first, but it is lovely to hear that roar of the crowd and the excitement. Archer, always a cricketer of great appeal, gets cheered down there. England have kept control, if not looked very threatening. Is that a fair summary, Akash?
Well, they looked a little threatening, yes, especially someone like Anderson. One catch that could have been taken, or you could have had Shubman Gill's wicket already. So they've created opportunities, or at least they've looked like creating opportunities.
Okay, Broad
now
again.
Now it's to take a wicket.
Shubman Gill, just a little knock into the offside. Tell us a bit about Shubman Gill, because he's got a remarkable eye and a natural gift for the game.
Yes, he has, and we saw a different side of Shubman Gill, a kid who likes to get on with the game. He is the product of modern day cricket, where you want to really get going, and that's what we've seen from him so far. But today, I think the first run came off the 25th, 27th ball or something like that. So he was willing to bide his time, and I was quite impressed that he was not throwing his hands at everything that was coming his way, for a simple reason that anxiousness, that anxiety to get off the mark, didn't really get the better of him. So a little battle won there.
Little battle within himself, 2 for that little push to square cover, so he retains the strike. He now has 10. Here's Broad. Broad came in and bowled very full and straight and did the fielding of his own bowling. Broad with his head wrapped in the white bandana that has become his signature. Even though his hair has been cut shorter, he grew it longer for a time. Stokes is the one who's also grown it longer and is wearing a headband when he bowls. 22 for no wicket. Sweat and the shine beginning to show on Broad's face. Almost looks flush, red flush, with effort in the heat here in Ahmedabad. Dew on the ground. Is the rising moisture going to help England get the ball to do something? Here he is again, and that's left alone outside off stump. So the end of that Broad over. We're sure to see Archer at one end or the other, and maybe a bit of Jack Leach soon too, I would imagine. 22 for no wicket. I'll leave Steve Harmison and Akash with you and hand over to Andrew McKenna.
Yeah, fascinating passage of play now coming, I think, Maka, because Archer's going to have to come on, but Leach is going to have to come on as well. And I think because of the size of the total that England have got, 112, England have only got one spinner. It'll be interesting to see how the Indian batsmen go after Jack Leach, whether they just play him and say, right, we're happy with what we've got, things are going nicely, we don't, or do they go and put pressure on England's captain by taking Jack Leach on, getting rid of the close catchers, having the fielders in the deep, and then look to sort of milk him from there. So there's a little bit of cat and mouse, a little bit of chess going first up, and it'll be also interesting to see how Jofra Archer takes this pink ball, which is 12 overs old, but the England bowlers aren't happy with it, and they're asking the umpires to have a look at it, possibly because of the dew factor.
They are indeed. It is with Nissim Menon, who's gone over to Joe Root to explain exactly what's going on, and he's shrugging his shoulders as if to say, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it, this is the rules and regulations. They're now explaining it to the batsman, and what's happening is the other standing umpire, Anil Chowdhury, has just got a disinfectant wipe out and is wiping something off the surface. So he's obviously picked up something on the surface. He therefore can't use his hand to get whatever it was off the surface, So they have to use the wipe and then hand it back to Joe Root, Harmy.
I don't think the ball went off the ground. So the only time they sanitise it is when the ball goes off the playing area. Potentially somebody touches it. I just wonder if one of the players has possibly licked their finger by instinct and to put their stuff on the ball. So that's the only thing I can think of. Really, it's the only thing we can think of, really, that the ball hasn't gone out for 4 or it hasn't gone out the ground and a spectator's chucked it back. That's when it's supposed to be sanitised.
Yeah.
So
that would definitely fit, Harmy, because they definitely got a disinfectant wipe out of some description there. Anyway, so it is going to be Jofra Archer. Played in the first test, didn't play in the second, back in for the third. 2 for 75 and 1 for 23 in that first test, and he's going to start with 2 slips to Rohit Sharma, and Rohit's in behind this one, pushing out on the offside, and there is no run. Just waiting for the speed gun reading to come up on that first Archer delivery, and it looks like it's not going to, so thanks very much for that one, chaps. And now we get to see a replay, and it's Ben Stokes, just out of habit, has put his finger into his mouth and put some spit onto the ball, and he did it right in front of umpire Menon, who straight away said, you can't do that, Ben. So Harmy, you've got that absolutely spot on.
I can't take.
Well, you can. Shush, don't admit to it. Archer is in. Rohit's pushing out on the offside. You're going to say you heard it through the stump right now,
No,
aren't you?
I didn't. I have to give it. Well, producer in the ear, Ollie picked up on it, and he put it in my head. So I didn't pick up on it. Nobody did, apart from our producer. But the cameras have just showed her right in front of the umpire. Not so much you can't do that, Ben, but it's just instinct. Sometimes it's instinct. You get a ball, you look to shine it, and how do you shine it? Well, the old-fashioned way, flick your finger across your tongue and put it on the ball.
It's hard to change 15 years of habit, isn't it? Archer goes in, short of ball, but Rohit pulls this one out to mid-wicket, rides the bounce, rolls his wrists, and puts it away for 4. He goes to 16. India 26 without loss.
I did say an intriguing passage of play here, because Archer comes on, Pearce on the ball. Sometimes Pearce on the ball, sometimes travels to the boundary if you don't quite get it right. It was a good shot there. Wasn't a bad ball by Jofra Archer. It was a roundabout sort of chin high, but it was outside off stump. It was outside, so Rohit Sharma could let his hands free.
26 without loss. It's Rohit off the back foot on this occasion. Oh, what a shot! Punch through point, back-to-back boundaries. India 30 without loss. Akash, what a shot that is.
Fantastic. He loves pace, he loves bounce. The soil used for this surface has come from Mumbai. And Rohit Sharma has grown up on these kind of surfaces. If you give him short pitch stuff outside off or into his body, he's going to relish, and that's what he's doing. One through the onside, one through the offside. The offside one was more in control, but resulted once again in another boundary. So 2 and 2.
Jofra Archer turns and makes his way back to his mark. What's he got on this occasion? On his way in, off the hip, off the thigh is Rohit, turning it on to the onside for a single. 31 without loss. India replying to England's 112. Akash, just want to ask you, you mentioned the soil there. Already, the England fast bowlers have got a problem where the Indian bowlers and spinners have been pivoting on their front foot as they deliver. It does appear that this surface is crumbling in and around the crease where the bowlers want to land their feet.
Agree, and that's not ideal. That's not ideal if you're a fast bowler, or not to see that on day 1. It may happen on 4-5, day 4, day 5, but it's crumbled.
Last ball of the over. It's a short one from Jofra Archer, and it goes over Rohit Sharma's head. No, it was Shubman Gill, wasn't it? Because Rohit will be on strike for the first ball of the next over. Yeah, 31 without loss here on TalkSport 2 after 13 overs. England posting 112 all out in 48 overs and 4 balls. India 31 without loss in reply. Akash, just to continue on that, obviously they haven't even played a first-class game in this stadium since 2015 because of the redevelopment work. Would that be the fact that the footholds were starting to crumble? Would that be fairly consistent with what we've seen before? Is that the historical how it works?
See, I made my test debut at this venue. Of course, it was a different stadium at that point in time, all those years ago. So it's not a surface that is is likely to crumble as rapidly as this one has, especially where the feet are landing. Perhaps what you've just mentioned, this ground hasn't seen a lot of cricket. And as it is the case with most grounds, most pitches, you need certain amount of cricket to be played. There has to be an optimum amount of cricket to be played for the surface to actually become a proper first-class square. And this is not ideal just now. New stadium hosting its first test match, and we have back-to-back test matches one after the other, so it's not going to get easy. I really hope that it was a little harder, where at least where the feet were landing, the footmarks are going to be an annoyance for the remainder of this game.
Akash, just quickly, we're going to see Jack Leach come into the attack. How do you think the Indian batsmen will play? England are only playing one spinner. Do you think they'll be trying be forceful against the England spinner?
They will be, especially someone like Rohit Sharma who's got runs under his belt. He will be looking for runs.
So after 6 overs, Stuart Broad takes his leave, and in comes Jack Leach then. First ball, it's on the leg stump, clipped up to mid-on by Rohit Sharma. James Anderson will do the fielding, and a single is taken. So to just re-emphasise what Steve Harmison was saying, England went in with 4 seamers and Jack Leach as the frontline spinner, with Joe Root to add to a bit to it, but essentially Jack Leach is the only spinner, and therefore if the Indian batsmen play him out of the attack, then Joe Root has problems. Leach has a slip and a short leg, comes in, inside edge onto his own pad from Shubman Gill, but safely out on the offside, and there is no run.
Good start by Jack Leach, but the noise has just turned up, Macca. The crowd have arrived. Was it 40-odd thousand people inside the stadium? What a magnificent stadium it is.
Leach in, Shubman Gill off the back foot, punching out to Bairstow at short cover, and there is no run.
And we heard just in that last over when Jofra Archer comes steaming in, bowling around about 138, 140, 2 fantastic boundaries by Rohit Sharma, and all of a sudden the decibel just rising a little bit.
Jack Leach gets on to absolutely rip. Now Shubman Gill wasn't playing at that, it was wide of off stump, but that's gone big. That's sort of 20 degrees. I mean, it's really veered off. That was a remarkable delivery. Leach goes in once again, middle of Shubman Gill's bat on this occasion, pushes out quietly on the offside. And just looking at Jack Leach's speeds, he's up around about 90 kilometres an hour again for the majority of this over, as what Gareth Batty described in the last test as bowling directly as a spinner. Goes in, bat and pad close together, out on the onside. They'll take 1. Shubman Gill's looking for a second. Rohit says no though. Sibley will come in and do the fielding. End of the over. 33 without loss are India after 14 overs on TalkSport 2. Steve Harmison.
Akash, just a quick one on Jack Leach's ball there that spun. Going England bowled out for 112. It wasn't so much the ones that spun in the first innings to England, it was the ones out from Axar Patel that went straight on. England's inability to play the difference between the ball turning and the ball not turning was probably their downfall.
Absolutely, and the accuracy of the 2 Indian bowlers, especially someone like Axar Patel, whose stock ball is actually the one that comes back in. It's only the odd ball that turns away. So if you were to set up as a batsman, you play the stock ball or assume that every ball is going to be a stock ball unless you see anything different. They were playing down the wrong line, mate. I really felt that they were still thinking that it's Chennai, that every ball is going to turn, an odd ball is going to stay straight. But this is day 1 pitch, a different pitch, a different ball. This pink ball has a lot of lacquer on it, and therefore not a lot of turn. It's the ball that's skidding in.
Jofra Archer to start his next over, outside Shubman Gill's off stump, and there is no run. Jared Kimber wants to come in, our analyst.
Just on Jack Leach, it's quite interesting. You mentioned the paces there, Macca. He usually bowls, his average speed is 83 kilometres per hour. He's already up around 88 in his first over here. And Gareth Batty talked a lot in the last test about just how hard that is going up, because you're still putting all the revs on the ball, you're still trying to control it. So it's not as easy as to say just bowl quicker. Otherwise everyone would do it, I assume, Harmy.
Archer to Shubman Gill. And Shubman Gill is playing from the crease, turns it into the onside, well fielded by Zach Crawley at mid-wicket, and there's no run, remains 33 without loss.
Sorry, Mike, just to pick up on what Jared's saying there, the pace. So his average speed is 83, and he tends to bowl that little bit slower than that, because obviously the average speed, the quicker ball comes into it. So his average, he wants to bowl around 80, 81, 82. I find with Jack Leach, when he tries to bowl quicker, he bowls shorter, he bowls a little bit flatter, and I think against Indian players who are used to this, play him off the back foot comfortably.
So Shubman Gill gets an outside edge to this one from Archer, and it loops out but lands short of Johnny Bairstow, who is at cover point. And that might have been the first opportunity England have had for a while, but it went sort of horizontally and then down rather than looping up, rather than anyone able to get round to it. But it was a ball that Gill was looking to play onside, but took the outside edge of the bat out towards point.
Yeah, Jofra just lost his wrist there a little bit. He went across, it was like a little leg cutter, and it just hit the top of the seam.
Archer goes in, Shubman Gill solidly in behind this one, and there's no run back down the pitch.
Yeah, it just seemed as though it came off his wrist. He wasn't like sort of wrist behind it where, you know, really behind it, everything momentum going for a fast bowler. He just, what Stuart Broad sometimes does, where the seam wobbles a little bit, it's hit the seam, top of the seam, and it's just bounced a touch, and that's what England need. England need this ball not only to start misbehaving, but actually a little bit of luck that these leading edge carry.
Archer goes in, that's wide of off stump. Oh, and that dies on Ben Folkes, and that actually bounces a second time before it gets to him and takes him on the thigh as he's sliding on the ground trying to cover that one up. If you're still working miles an hour, by the way, I appreciate we do give these speeds in kilometres because that's how they're recorded, but to give you a rough starting point, 100 kilometres an hour is 62.5 miles an hour. So if we're talking 90 kilometres an hour, then you're talking in the 50s. So just to give you a sort of a rough starting point. Archer for the final ball of the over. Oh, Shubman Gill's gone back, had a hack at this one, flies up in the air. Where's it going to land? It's going to land in the hands of Zak Crawley, and England have a breakthrough. And Shubman Gill, we've been praising him for his perseverance and his patience, and I'm afraid he's had a rush of blood at that one. And from England's point, thank goodness he did. He goes to 11, 33 for 1. Akash, Shubman Gill won't be pleased with that one.
Absolutely not, kicking himself, because I thought the dots that he was playing will define him as a player, because it's difficult for someone like him with his kind of attitude towards the game and the batting to actually be there for so long and not score. And now after he's gotten some runs, he's played a loose shot, a rash shot. He is a bit of a compulsive puller of the cricket ball, but as a test opener, he will understand that you're flirting with danger a bit too much. It's all right in first class cricket, it's all right in white ball cricket when you're playing the IPL, but when you're playing test match cricket, these things, the word will go around. People will pepper you with a lot of short pitch stuff, and you will have to have a game that's not aggressive, a defensive ploy against the short ball if you want to succeed as a test opener. So of course early days, lessons to be learned, but we all know that Shubman Gill has a bright future waiting ahead of him.
You're listening to commentary of the third test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times. Their cricket team is writing with an edge.
Just watching Shubman Gill there, and he's watched him throughout the IPL. He's a fine talent. He has got talent. You know, his hands are beautiful. But as a fast bowler, I'm not sure I'd bowl anything other than short balls at him. And at his sort of where he wears his Indian badge. For the simple fact is, I think his foot movement, he gets himself in such a place with his foot movement. I think if you get him, especially with somebody that's got a bit of pace and got a bit of bounce, if you can get it in and around where the Indian badge is, he doesn't get himself right across to really pull or right across to cut. He blocks himself off. And I think that shot there, when the ball gets a little bit tighter to him, trusting your hands is one thing, but actually sometimes if you're not getting your hands out in front of you, you're really going to struggle to hit it properly.
Leach in to start the 16th over. Rohit Sharma's playing it to the cover sweeper. Zak Crawley out on the boundary on the offside. Cheteshwar Pujara is the new man to the crease. 73 and 15 in the first match in Chennai, 21 and 7 in the second. Of course, with that best score of 206 in Test match cricket, which is against England in Ahmedabad in 2012. So a bit of form, course and distance form for Pujara against England. By the way, just one more point on Shubman Gill. I was a bit surprised because you mentioned his IPL form, Harmy. He's not in the T20 squad for India, which tells you how well stocked they are for young, talented attacking batsmen. Anyway, that's later to come, and of course all those games will be live on TalkSport 2 as well. Pujara is going to use his feet to get to Jack Leach's first delivery, punches him to mid-off crisply, and there is no run. So England have the breakthrough that they were needing. Jofra Archer is the man to get Shubman Gill. With the final ball of the 15th over, England by this point had already lost 2, and indeed the third would be going down in the 22nd, and that was when the problem started. Leach goes in again, bowls to Pujara, pushes back down the pitch, no run. If you weren't with us earlier on, England had a collapse of quite spectacular proportions, losing 8 wickets, or the final 8 wickets of their innings. The third went down 5 balls into the 22nd over. They were bowled out in 48.4. Pujara forward to Leach, pushing back down the pitch, no run.
And I know we do say a lot about Pujara's wicket and say it's huge, but in the context of this game, if England can get rid of Pujara here, then all of a sudden there's a lot of shot players coming in, and on a wicket you fancy yourself.
Oh, Jack Leach has gone in, taken Pujara on the pad, given out LBW. It just looked right at the time. Pujara is going to walk down the pitch and ask the question of Rohit Sharma. You think from what Steve Harmison's just saying, they surely have to review this one just to be safe. 4, 3, 2, 1. Pujara's going to walk off, and that is 2 wickets down, and that will bring Virat Kohli in. So England have their breakthrough. They've got 2, 34 for 2, and maybe just as importantly, it's Jack Leach that has got the wicket. He's got 1 for 3.
Simple conversation there by by Sharma and Pujara. Sharma, did you hit that? And if the answer is no, then I think you tell your partner, off you go, because that was very, very straight. Great bit of bowling by Jack Leach. Talked about his pace, but he got it up there. His length was brilliant, his line was brilliant. Just went on with the arm, not much spin, and absolutely perfect. It's a huge wicket for England, this, because if Pujara sits in and bats for any length of time with the players that come in around him, then 1-1-12 is not a very, it's not a big score in the first place, but he gives them somebody to anchor. Now England have got shot players coming in on a wicket which they fancy themselves to get wickets on, and they've got the rock out. This is a huge passenger player for England, and something England need the Indian captain to come and go very, very quickly.
Well, he's had an up and down series, Kohli. 11 and 72 in the first test. That incredible naught as he got absolutely spun out by Moeen Ali in the first test, and then 62 in the second as he played superbly. But Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, 2 of India's finest players at the moment, are at the crease at the moment, and this next half an hour or so. Kevin Peterson's joined us in the comms box. This looks like it's a big few minutes here, Kev. Sorry, Kev, carry on.
Yeah, it really is. It's the greatest player in the game at the moment, Virat Kohli. He knows how to bat, this guy. He's done it on so many occasions. When the pressure's on, Virat Kohli delivers. But Leach has got one. We talked about natural variation. We talked about natural variation all morning. And he got one against Pujara. That's what he got.
Leach comes in around the wicket to finish the over. Kohli well forward, inside portion of the bat. It's back down the pitch. End of the over. So England have the second wicket to fall. 34 for 2 are India after 16 overs. Some more thoughts from the boys, and I'll make way for Manners to take up the ball by ball.
Yeah, it's that natural variation that we talked about that sort of bamboozled the England players this morning. And we're going to check and see now if the Indian players can counter that natural variation. Leach has got a couple to spin, and then the first one that he gets to go straight on with the arm, he knocks Pujara over for naught. Kohli's in Rohit. Rohit's playing the Crawley, really. He's on 23 or 40 deliveries. But he's going to need somebody. Well, India's going to need Virat to bat with him. Then they've got Rahane, they've got Rishabh Pant, Ashwin Akshar, Sundar. So they bat deeper than England. But England will be pretty happy with what they've seen from Leach. Couple spinning and a couple going straight on.
A nice combination at the moment between Jofra Archer's pace and Jack Leach's patience. As Archer is in again, full wide, and it's certainly full enough to drive, but it's left alone by Rohit Sharma. Just a little bit too wide. He's playing well within himself, Rohit Sharma, playing with caution, maturity, and responsibility as well. But that'll really settle Jack Leach down. It's two ways of looking at being the sole spinner on a pitch that's turning sideways on day one. There's either excess of responsibility and expectation. This one's full and wide outside the off stump, and as the sole spinner, without our mate at the other end bowl something for you, you either think, well, you know, I'm going to carry that much on my, or you think, what a golden opportunity, I can take all the wickets if it's turning.
It depends on your personality, doesn't it? It can really depend on your personality. You don't want to be bowling 45 overs a day. I just don't think you do. But then if you say to Jack Leach, I'm going to give you 7 for, I'm going to give you 8 for.
Archer in again, short, pulled again by Rohit Sharma. Once more he looks to be tucked up, but he's hit it well enough, and there's a dive from Zach Crawley, but he gets to it, and then all he can do is knock it onto the boundary triangles, and it's 4 more runs to Rohit Sharma. He's a very good puller. It doesn't always look as effective as it actually is, and he often looks like he's splicing it, but actually no, he's hit that very well indeed.
There was a one-day series in Australia, in Perth. I was calling that for another broadcaster a number of years ago. Rohit Sharma started to swat Mitchell Johnson and Mitchell Stark and all the fast bowlers of Australia all the way around that Wacker Stadium, the old stadium in Perth.
Here is Archer once more, and it's steered towards backward point, or sort of fairly deep backward point, straight to the field and no run.
And I think ever since then, the short delivery is something that he's been really confident playing. He loves playing the short stuff. He loves playing the pull shot. He loves playing the hook. He loves hitting it for 6 too, doesn't he? Likes to play it upwards.
So much has changed in the last few decades. I mean, it's still a game between bat and ball, and the fundamental basics of cricket haven't changed, but many of the details and records have, and approaches to the game. Here is Archer, and that's pushed defensively straight back towards the bowler. One of those facts that hasn't really sunk in with me is that, you know, I still think 200 in a one-day international. 200. I mean, that was like a moon landing, you know, 10-15 years ago. Rohit Sharma's done it 3 times.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fielding restrictions have helped, mind you. 5 men up for a lot of the.
Here's Archer again, short, and he's got that all horribly wrong. He's gone for the pull shot instinctively, and it's got too big, too high, and he's gone through with the shot anyway. They always say that you lose control of it if you hit it above head height, and he's just top edged that straight over the keeper for 4.
Yeah, he has lost control of that. It was a real good short ball from Jofra Archer. It's a ball that went probably really well directed. If you compare it to the first delivery, that was the first short delivery, it was sort of chest height. This one was right shoulder, above the right shoulder. Rohit Sharma's now replaying how he thinks he should have played it, maybe ducking and weaving and getting out of the way. But sometimes if you're compulsive and you like to play the shot and you know how good it is when you pull it off, you want to be playing it more often and you don't want to let it go. It's a scoring opportunity. There's not been that many scoring opportunities here. The spinners haven't let you score. Leach is operating, Akshar operated, so did Ashwin. They both operated. Leach has already got a wicket.
17 overs gone. India 42 for 2. England have already been bowled out on day 1 after winning the toss and choosing to bat first. Jack Leach continues with his left arm spin as we welcome our listeners on TalkSport, joining us here on TalkSport 2. Every single ball live and exclusive on TalkSport 2, and the occasional visit from our TalkSport listeners. And just a reminder, if you haven't heard the news and you wondered whether you misheard what I said, I'll repeat it. England won the toss, chose to bat first, and have been bowled out for 112. Jack Leach, left arm spin is in. That's down the leg side. It's a flick and I think a miss from Indian captain Virat Kohli, but it's also been missed by Ben Foakes, the England's keeper, and it's down the leg side. It's gone away for a couple of runs. The umpire's still deciding what flavour those runs are. Buys, he's decided. So Leach did stray down the leg side, and it was a tough one for Ben Foakes. Very tough one. He won't enjoy conceding byes. He conceded his first byes in the second test on a hideously difficult pitch in the 101st over.
Amazing, he had such a fabulous test match. He really did. Plaudits from all around the world, ex-keepers.
Here is Leach once again. That one is overcompensated outside the off stump and left alone. Yeah, there were a few people that said things you never thought you'd say. I can't wait for the third test to watch Ben Foakes keep wicket.
Yeah, amazing, eh? Amazing. Absolutely brilliant.
Here is Leach in once again, right up in the block hole, and it's turned away through mid-wicket. Rather than it being a drive, it's chased out towards the boundary by Dom Sibley. He slide tackles it, gets the throw back in. And just to put some more information on the bones of that statistic, England bowled out for 112, of which opener Zach Crawley, back into the team after missing the first two tests with injury, made 53. It's the fourth lowest total in English test history to include a half century, for the statistically minded of you. 112 all out. Zach Crawley, opening batting, made 53. England's collapse of 8 for 38 in 27 overs was also their third worst to end an innings ever. Here's Leach once again. It's punched off the back foot by Indian captain Virat Kohli to deep point, and they again trot through for a single. And left arm spinner Axar Patel did the most of the damage with 6 for 38. His spin partner, senior partner R. Ashwin, took 3 for 26. But England lost 8 for 38. Having been 74 for 2. Sorry, 70. Yeah, they were 74 for 2, and then 74 for 3, and they lost 8 for 38. So India, in reply, we still have over an hour of the day's cricket remaining. In reply, 47 for 2. Jack Leach is in once again, dipping low full toss, and it's not scored off by opener Rohit Sharma, who's 31 not out. Virat Kohli has 3. India have lost Shubman Gill for 11, Pecheshwar Pujara for a duck, a wicket each to Jofra Archer and Jack Leach. India 47 for 2.
Yeah, and we're talking about what would England want and what would England need out of this next session, or this last session of the day. The old pie chart around who's done well and who's won which session of the day, and it's all been India so far. They're 70 odd runs now behind, and I think England will be wanting to try and get India 5 down, 6 down at a push. Things can happen very quickly. They really can. We saw that with England this morning. Things can happen so quickly. Normally there's the old adage, you shout around playing county cricket and playing all sorts of cricket. 1 brings 2. But in India, 1 can bring 3, 1 can bring 4. I mean, 1 brought 8 this morning. So they've just got to make sure that they're doing the right stuff. To make sure that they're fitting the process. Leach has got to concentrate and not give away easy singles. He can't let Kohli and Rohit Sharma just rotate the strike. Got to look for wickets. They've got to maintain that pressure. They've got to bowl in partnerships.
There may well come a point when we look back at this test match and we say that the door was closed in their faces on the first day to England, and we may also say that they actually contributed to closing the door on their own faces. But at this stage, it is so important to remind listeners and to remind the disheartened that the door is not yet closed. Yeah, sure, it might be on a hinge, a big swing, it might be closing very quickly, but it's not closed, and that's the really important thing. That 47 for 2, but even if India are bowled out for less than a lead of 100, I mean, I'm not saying it'll be easy, but there is a way for England to play themselves back into the game. They've gone into this test match with 3 frontline seamers, 4 including Ben Stokes, with only the 1 frontline spinner. But yet there is a way, at KP, if you're thinking, that if they bowled out for 160, 170, I know that's it seems on paper a huge amount, but there's still a way back, isn't there?
Yep, well, India are going to have to bat last. And that's the deciding factor, or could be the deciding factor, although they may not bat last. It all depends on how well they bat here. But I wouldn't be thinking long term. I wouldn't be thinking about bowling them out for X and doing Y and thinking about Z. The focus should be in the next hour of cricket, completely down to the next hour. It's about putting pressure on Rohit and Virat Kohli. It's about creating that pressure around the bat. When England batted, goodness gracious, when the spinners were bowling, it was as noisy as anything in our ears. Pant was laughing, Kohli was all over them. Everybody around the bat was creating theatre, and then they were backed up by the crowd. What England need to do is they need to create their own theatre around the bat. And if they create their own theatre around the bat, they'll make themselves believe. You tell yourself something for long enough, you'll start to believe it. And that's what they need to do. They need to believe in something. They've got to find something that gives them that energy.
You're listening to commentary of the third Test match between India and England here on TalkSport 2, sponsored by the Times and the Sunday Times, whose cricket writing team, of course, headed by two former England captains, the wonderful Michael Atherton and the not yet so wonderful as a writer, Sir Alistair Cook. He hasn't got the experience of Michael Atherton just yet. Yes, Jared Kimber. Don't analyse that comment.
I didn't know you were doing literary reviews as well. KP, I just wanted to ask you about this. So in this tour, and I'm including Sri Lanka on this, Butler averaged 81 against spin. Root averaged 79. Next best is Bess at 33. You've got all the way down at the bottom, you've got Bairstow 25, Pope 18, Stokes 18, Burns 13 and Crawley 9. That's all just facing spin.
Yep.
There's a couple of problems. Today we saw them play the wrong line on occasion.
Yeah.
And there's about 4 batsmen in that lineup who start with their bat wide outside off stump and come across spin when it's spinning away from them. Are these things that they can fix going forward? And they would have known of these problems coming into this series as well.
I mean, I think they've only got one innings that they need to fix it in, right? And have they got enough time to do that? I don't know.
Because they would have been working on this.
Of course they would have, and I know they have been working on it. I spoke to Root a couple of weeks ago about stuff that we did together in 2012 before that successful tour where we beat India in India. And I reminded him of a couple of the drills that we were doing, that I used to do day in, day out when being in the subcontinent. And I believe that they are doing it. So I believe that they are putting in the work and they are putting in the practice. But I can only relate it back to when I played, that on occasions, in Ahmedabad, for instance, I walked out to bat on Ahmedabad and I was practicing perfectly leading into that test match. And for some strange reason, I got knocked over from a left-arm spinner, bang, bang. Namanoja knocked me over. Finished. Good night. And then I got out in the second innings. I thought to myself, how on earth can you get out playing the way you've just played when you've been playing so well in the nets?
Drinks break is finished. Jofra Archer's back into the attack, and up onto his toes goes Virat Kohli, pushing it down the wicket. No run.
And so as soon as I got out in that second innings, I walked into the dressing room, I took my test shirt off, I put a practice shirt on, I took 2 coaches out into the back nets, and I went and hit balls for an hour and a half to make myself understand and feel that actually I do have it. Give myself that confidence again. But that didn't help me in that particular test match. But it helped me in my next innings because I went on to get 180 in Mumbai in the next test match. So I sort of proved to myself. So have they got enough time? Yes, of course they got enough time. Tomorrow morning, it's a day-night test match. Go and bat in the nets.
Here's Archer again, and Kohli plays defensively. And there's no run. Did you wear your practice shirt under your test shirt?
Yeah, the test shirt. I took that test shirt off very quickly. I used it in the next innings.
The method you were talking about, the training, is that the stuff that you got from Rahul Dravid?
Absolutely. Yeah, all the stuff from Rahul Dravid. And just the drills. It's all about talking. We can pick apart somebody's technique till the cows come home. But it's about giving that person a process to get better. Giving them drills to get better. Because you're talking about the angle of the bat.
Archer again. Kohli plays defensively, 3rd time on the back foot.
And I couldn't care where your bat comes from. But you need to find a way to get the ball into a certain position, and your eyes need to be good enough to pick up length. So it's not about your bat can come from backward point, from square leg, it doesn't matter. It's whether you use your bat. You practice without pads. You practice a drill where you're just hitting every single ball through the offside. These are small little drills that you can practice and you can practice and you can practice. And I know they've been doing it.
Archer again to Kohli, this time steers to towards backward point rather than pushing to mid-on. You published that letter from Rahul Dravid.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. One of the takeaways that I remember is that he was basically saying, allow yourself to make mistakes. Don't beat yourself up.
Absolutely. You got to learn to fail. If you're going to accept the positive stuff in your career, you have to accept the bad stuff too. And you're going to have many more bad days than you have good days. I mean, having played over 100 test matches, the number of bad days you had in that, crazy days. So you got to understand and you got to accept failure. And failure is something that we do. We're human. We're not robots.
Especially in cricket. It's you're destined to fail.
Especially as a batter.
Yeah.
That one little ball, ding.
Archer again, and it's pushed out towards cover point, and there's no run. I mean, if you take the standard, most commonly accepted benchmark for success for a batsman is you score 50. Well, the greatest test batsman who ever lived scored a 50 every 4.5 innings. So in other words, Donald Bradman failed 70% of the time.
Exactly right. You got to cash in. When you have that purple patch, you got to cash in. You got to make hay. When the sun shines, you've got to go, and you've got to keep going. But I think it brings us back.
Archer again, and 5 out of 6 deliveries back of a length, forcing Kohli onto the back foot, and that's actually a very good over, if that's what he was intending to do from Jofra Archer. And he's got all 6 deliveries in exactly the right place and denied Virat Kohli any scoring opportunity whatsoever. Rohit Sharma has 31, Kohli has 3. India are 47 for 2 in reply to England's 112.
Yeah, and it just brings us back to the question from Jared about batting and about how they practice. And so I do believe that they are practicing. Spending hours and hours with Bairstow and Root in the nets in 2012. I'm talking hours. We were just playing games, drilling each other, practicing. I mean, they're youngsters then. And we had so much fun doing it. And you can see the way Root plays. I mean, he just plays it so perfectly. He really goes all the time in the world. Probably the best player who's been in both teams. So the practice is there. The technique is there. The ways to practice are there. It's just sometimes you can just get outdone by one that straightens and one that doesn't. You wouldn't expect 8 for 30. You wouldn't expect all the batters to come under the same sort of fire as we've seen today.
Jack Leach is in clipping up towards Jimmy Anderson at mid-on. They scamper through for a quick single. That was an immediate call for one and an immediate response. It's very good running indeed. And a timely single, because they'd both got stuck, hadn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is also a way now to bat against a spinner, to put pressure on the spinner, to run well between wickets. And we see Virat Kohli. You look at Virat Kohli in the IPL. You're playing in temperatures that are crazy, up into the mid-40s.
Leach onto Kohli again, and he nudges it out to mid-wicket. No run.
And he runs, and he runs, and he runs. You have a look at David Warner. David Warner runs, and he runs, and he runs. They just set a great example for the youngsters. The youngsters need to follow.
Here is Leach, and again driven square of the wicket on the offside to the man sweeping on the cover boundary. And they go through for another single. Virat Kohli is one of the few players on earth who can maintain a scoring rate of about 150 without hitting boundaries.
He's so quick between wickets. He understands where the boundary riders are. He hits the boundary riders, and he's not afraid to hit the boundary riders hard. It's purpose. There's intent there. So when Leach delivers the ball, he knows he needs to deliver his best ball, because he knows Kohli's thinking 4-3-2-1.
Pushed firmly past extra cover out to the man sweeping on the cover boundary, Zach Crawley, and they go through for a single. Now you see Kohli and Rohit getting into their work against Jack Leach. 1.11.
Absolutely. And I suppose it begs the question to go back to the makeups of the team. Have England got this right? 3 fast bowlers? I don't think they have. Don't think they have at all.
No, they haven't. The applause, by the way, is for the 50 up for England. 50 for 2 as Leach is in once again. Oh, another one beautifully pushed square of the wicket on the offside. Crawley fielding on the cover boundary keeps him down to a single. It was only ever going to be a single. And Rohit moves on to Kohli moves on to 5. Rohit Sharma has 33. England bowled out for 112. Zach Crawley made 53. Everybody else looked very tentative, and I have to say, slightly bemused by the amount that the ball was turning, and Axar Patel, the left-arm spinner, took 6 for 38, and it was quick turn as well, and some bounce, and it was, I must say, it was helpful conditions, but beautifully exploited by both Axar and Ashwin. Appeal now for a leg before wicket, but you'll find that Rohit Sharma had taken a step and a half down the wicket. It may well have hit him at pad first. It may well have done. I think it possibly did. It was some bat involved as well, but he was definitely a long way down the pitch. And while Kevin Peterson comments on that, I'm going to hand over to Mark Nicholas, fresh from an egg and cress, I think.
Yeah,
Was it good?
I think that
to director, play review for LBW.
Joe Root says, or the
Original
bowler
decision
certainly
is
says
not
it's
out,
pad
it's a
first.
fair
If it's
delivery,
pad
spin
first,
vision.
then obviously that's going to bring in the LBW in a big way here.
But
They
he's
don't
so
look too
far.
confident though, do they?
He's so far down the pitch, Kev. I mean, that it could be hitting, it could be going
Can you
over.
rock and roll
A long
it?
way out of his ground. I think it's all right for line.
Can we have ultra edge, please?
He is a long way down, isn't he?
Roll it.
I mean,
Yeah,
that ball
clearly
from that
bat
length
first,
would
ball
likely
tracking,
go
please.
over the stumps, I would say. But we've often been surprised. Hits him in line between wicket and wicket. So here we go.
Pitching outside off,
There
impact
she- there
in
she
line.
goes.
Wickets missing.
Way over the top. Yep, it's
On-field
missing.
umpire on screen, please. Anil, stay
A bad
with the
review.
wicket.
Well, not a bad review, just a review that this doesn't go England's way, doesn't go Root's way, doesn't go Leach's way. India's got 50, 51.
I think, Kev, that it's a review based on hope in a situation that's unpromising.
Yep.
You know, rather than clear thinking, take the emotion out of it. What do we really think that's LBW? If we cleared the airwaves, started again, do we think it's LBW? Probably not. He's a fair way down. No, we don't review it. Particularly, and I've long thought players should look at umpires closer when they give decisions. And the umpire was almost dismissive in his reaction to the appeal, as if to say, for heaven's sake, guys, let's move on. You know. Incidentally, the delay now is sort of a conversation between Rohit Sharma and the umpire, I think, about where England are, you know, or are England saying Rohit's running on the pitch or standing on the pitch? Or
I think there's a lot of chat at the moment about fielders and batsmen on the wicket. I know Virat Kohli very early this morning was complaining about England batters running on, and I think some of the England batters or the England players now thinking about Rohit Sharma just putting a foot or two into the naughty space. But I think there's also a change because Ben Stokes has taken his cap off. There's a big meeting. Archer, Root, Broad, Anderson, they're all together. Those are the fast bowlers that were employed. I think England have got this horribly wrong, Mark.
me too. And in fairness to us
Horrible.
both, we said it before play.
Absolutely.
And what
Picking
worries
three
me,
fast bowlers and another fast bowler in India. They're not in Perth.
what worries me is I'm afraid it reflects the thinking on Don Bess. You know, if you really had confidence, if Moeen Ali had been there, he'd have played, yeah.
Absolutely. Don't get me started on Moeen Ali.
And
on day
Moeen
one.
Ali, well, but Moeen Ali didn't bowl like Murali. Let's be honest. Here's Ben Stokes. No, it isn't. It's just a warm-up run. It's taking forever to get this over bowled, but it will be Stokes eventually. What I'm saying is, you know, Moeen Ali didn't bowl so great. He took wickets, bowled a lot of full tosses, took important wickets. Loves getting Kohli out, for example, but had to play because we need someone who can take wickets. So Bess had to replace him if he's the other spinner in the squad.
So should you lose too much emotion as a fan watching this when you know that your best players are not playing when they could be playing?
Well, there's a bit of that going on. I've certainly had a couple of texts from mates saying...
I mean, it's disheartening. It really is disheartening. And I know a lot of people are saying it's about being in the bubble and life in the bubble. Absolutely. And I say, well, they're going to play the IPL. Let them play the IPL. I'm a great advocate for these guys earning the big bucks and playing these. They must. They have to, because they can be out on a whim very quickly. They could get injured, earn the bucks, take the cash. However...
Kohli on strike then. Here's Stokes. And Kohli pulls. And the ball races to the square leg boundary for 4. It was not really a bouncer from Ben Stokes, more a long harping. Suffice to say, Virat Kohli simply crunched it.
However, when you look back at your career, you want to know that you've played against the best and you've performed against the best. And this is an opportunity after winning the first test match to beat India in India. And having beaten India in India, it's a proud moment. It's something you can talk about for the rest of your life. So when you get given that opportunity, try and take it.
Single now for Kohli, pushing wide mid-on. Better ball from Stokes. Yes, the first signal was Butler going home after Sri Lanka, having played so well in that second test himself. The next one was the big gap for Bairstow from test to test.
Yep.
And then Moeen Ali, Anderson being left out, and so on.
Absolutely. And then I've said you missed the early test matches of the summer, and I know they're against New Zealand, and I know that they're the number one test team in the world. But at the end of the day, it's not a big ticket. It's not something you look back in your career and you think, I played against New Zealand.
Well, as a single here for Rohit Sharma, working it off his body after the single to mid-on by Kohli, so they're ticking nicely now. The point I'd make is the same, but subtly different in that if England win here, they still have a chance of a place in the World Test Championship final.
Huge.
And then they would play New Zealand in that, and therefore all efforts should have been put into trying to win here. And they're protecting players for things that are happening a long time down the track. 2020, one-day internationals. Ashes I get, but that's so far away. That won't be till just before Christmas as he goes back, does Kohli, and defends fabulously solid. He looks on that back foot. 10 he's made.
But a player also has the choice, though, surely, to say, I'm going to play these test matches against India. Let me just play this next one. It's a day-night, pink ball test match, 110,000 capacity stadium. Let me play this. This is where the moments you get remembered. These are the big moments in your career.
But I think they're conditioned to think differently because of the needs of the moment. Here's Stokes again. Oh no, he isn't. He drops the ball. He gets to the crease, drops the ball. It rolls all the way down to Kohli, who I think does the fielding for him, though the camera moved elsewhere to look at Rohit Sharma then. But it's pretty tense out there now, you know, the feisty Kohli, the combative Sharma, the ever-aggressive Ben Stokes, Joe Root looking a little bit like the world's turned against him. There's a lot for them to fight for out there, and they're pretty strong individuals doing the fighting. Here's Stokes again, 55 on his back, runs away from us and bowls a ball just outside of stump. Kev, just before you go, the point is that this was decided in advance, who should rest where, so that they can all get through bubble life, assuming it continues for a whole year, and they're trying to spread the load. I think I would have taken this challenge on and then had a look at the next challenge to come.
As a player, never ever get dropped or never ever rest for a series that can define your career. And that's all I'm saying. Playing New Zealand doesn't define your career. Playing in a couple of one-day internationals doesn't define your career. Playing as Kohli knocks it out into the offside, this defines your career.
End of that over with no run for that push off the back foot by Virat Kohli. 57 for 2 behind England's 112, and I repeat, behind England's 112. That was all out earlier in the day, having won the toss. Wow. That was hard to watch because there was an inevitability about it. Not initially. Zach Crawley played really well against the seamers. He made 53 in total from 84 balls. It was when Akshar Patel got into the attack that the chaos started, though Dom Sibley got out to Ishant Sharma. It was because Akshar bowled so well, and England didn't have an obvious answer to him. They've had plans throughout this tour, but they're yet to find one that works for Akshar Patel. And he took 6 for 38. England were bowled out for 112. He won the toss in India. It's a disappointing day if ever there was one. Now Jack Leach. And down the pitch comes Rohit Sharma. He doesn't get any of it really by his high standards, but it still races for 4 to the right side of mid-on.
Well, he got nowhere near that one, did he, Mark? At all, but bounced down the wicket. Like I say, got half a bat on it, but the bats are that big these days. He kept his head down, that was the most important thing. Just got enough on it to fly past Jimmy Anderson at mid-on. And again, you get your value for your shot over here. It runs away for another 4.
Slip and short leg in place. Darkness around Gujarat. Floodlights on full. LEDs in this ring of fire, bringing no real joy to England. Yes, 2 wickets have fallen, but at the moment there's a nice stand developing between Rohit Sharma, 38 from 52 balls, Virat Kohli, 10 from 20 balls. India 62 for 2, closing in on England. I'm worried about Jack Leach. I'm worried that, as you heard at the start, I was keen for Bess. Kev and I were keen for Bess to play, not Broad. What I'm worried about is Jack Leach being on his own.
Spot on, mate. And the best go in a partnership, don't they? And you've seen with India how well they work together. Axar Patel and Ashwin.
Bowl did him completely with a bit of loop and dip there. Kohli feeling for the ball, getting a bit lucky. That inside edge almost went through his legs, could have gone back onto the stumps.
But the worry is might be tonight, but if they can get through tonight, India, you're just a feeling they might go after Jack Leach in the day and try and knock him out of the attack, because England have nowhere to go then. They've just got to go back to their seamers. I get it, it's worked in their favour. Now bowling under the lights, not ideal situation when you're all out for 112, but it's given them the best opportunity to get back into the game.
And just wide of the man at short extra cover. Kohli getting at it early. Leach looks exasperated. Bairstow's on the turf. Was that a chance? I don't think it was a chance, but could it have been made into a chance? Did Bairstow pick it up late? Very hard for us to tell. Certainly it's in the air for the first 20 yards of its journey. Bairstow had to have gone forward and to his left quickly.
Yeah, just fell short of Johnny Bairstow, actually. It would have been... no, he couldn't catch that. That would have been absolute unbelievable. It would have been brave for a start.
Yeah, it's a finger breaker, but I wouldn't call it impossible. That's a nice ball from Leach. He's been prepared to bowl it a little slower. It's left alone outside off stump. It spun an iota, but was 6 inches wide of off stump in the end when it was taken by Ben Foakes. Ben Stokes is at slip. A fine catcher. What he would give for a little nick now is to give England a smile and a chance before the close to pick up another. Plenty of cricket left tonight, all very important cricket. Down comes Rohit Sharma, gets to the pitch of the ball, works it into the leg side. Anderson slides to do the fielding from mid-on. They get a couple. I really think that this is a good time to bowl, and tomorrow lunchtime when play begins again will be a good time to bat.
Spot on, and that's why it's so important. Like I said, by default England are actually bowling at the best part of the day's play, under lights with this pink ball. You're bowling at India's best 2 players, really. Well, 2 flair players in Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. And I think realistically, Mark, to have any chance in this game, we need to dismiss at least one of these tonight.
Very true. I'm with you. You're listening to commentary of the 3rd test between India and England on TalkSport 2. We're with the Times and the Sunday Times. Try it free for 1 month at thetimes.co.uk/cricket offer. Subscription automatically renews as Stokes hits a perfect length at off stump, and the perfect defensive stroke from Virat Kohli follows. Yes, subscription automatically renews unless it's cancelled. So that's when you subscribe to the Times, you fill in the registration stuff, and then your subscription would kick in after your free 1 month. Terms and conditions apply, but nice to have the Times and the Sunday Times on board. Get to read Michael Atherton. Worth it for that. The bouncer, and a wasted one. A lot of energy used in getting the thing to loop high over Virat Kohli. In fact, so high that the umpire Nitin has called a wide there, which is probably fair enough, I think.
Much to the frustration of Ben Stokes. Such a passionate cricketer, Ben. All heart, desire. When he's got a cricket ball in his hand or a cricket bat, he's desperate to get in the game. I mean, he's had a quiet tour for Ben Stokes so far. You can't believe he'll go through a whole series without doing something special.
Here he is again, bangs it into the surface. Kohli tries to pull, the ball doesn't bounce much. Hits the bottom half of the bat and goes nowhere.
I just don't want Ben Stokes to get carried away with a short ball. I think there's enough there for the seamer. Well, we've seen there is for the spinner on this pitch. Pitch it up a little bit more. I think if we can be critical of England's bowling, slight criticism, I think everyone except probably Jimmy Anderson has bowled a yard too short. Even Jimmy at times.
It's a good shot. Back he goes with a straight bat. Oh, that's great timing. It's hard to describe the shot. It's a back foot drive through mid-wicket, isn't it, really? A back foot punch drive. It goes for 4.
Well, we're talking about some shots that have been played today. That is as good as it gets. I mean, we talked about Zach Crawley, some of the shots he played against the new ball. You got to remember this ball's now quite a few overs old. Lovely seam-up position from Ben Stokes. He just went back. He played it across the line with almost half a bat when he hit the ball. But, oh, dear me, flew along the ground all the way to the mid-wicket boundary. And there's a man out on the hook, by the way, Mark, and he got nowhere near it. He timed it that well.
Yeah, it was a beauty, wasn't it?
He keeps falling over, Ben Stokes. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's 2 times this over. In the footholes, there's a lot of movement.
Few have, though. They wanted those footholes looked after. Here he comes, bowls again. That's great length outside of stump, left alone by Kohli, who's now on 17. Definitely Stokes is concerned about the footholes. All the bowlers have been. And that umpire, Nitin Menon, has been pretty sympathetic. They're both they're good umpires, these guys, Anil Chowdhury and Nitin Menon. And they've been prepared to get the hammer out there to dig more out of the hole. But oh yeah, that's not nice, Coffee. How would you be landing in it? We're just watching the replay on television of Stokes
be a nightmare
landing
for me because I landed on my toes,
Right.
so it was even harder for me if I had no stability.
It's
at
a
the
big
crease.
hole, but it's a soft hole. Really loose stuff in there. Stokes again and gets it to carry through to Ben Foakes as Kohli leaves it alone, looking increasingly comfortable, as if he might be in for bed and breakfast. Kohli on 17 from 27 balls, so it's really just the start for a man who's played the monumental test match innings that he's played. At the other end, Rohit Sharma, a tad more fluent, took even Rohit Sharma a time to get going against tight England bowling with the new ball. 41 from 55. And India 72 for 2. We're under lights here. Almost misty evening now, smoggy sort of evening, left alone outside off stump again. End of that Ben Stokes over. 72 for 2 is the score. A word from Darren Gough, and then it'll be Andrew McKenna.
I'll tell you what we have seen for the seamers though throughout the day has been good carry to the keeper. Slips have felt as though they're going to be in the game, and I think in the previous 2 test matches slips were almost redundant, weren't they? They were on furlough. But I think what we've seen here, you know, I mean, about under lights throughout the day, even at the start of play, there's been a consistent carry to the keeper. There's been a little bit of movement, although not too much, and I think India have definitely got the selection right at the 2 teams as we're coming towards the end of day 1, where the ball basically did turn and bounce from the first hour, Macca.
Well, the other thing is, as we've seen in the last 20 minutes or so, the England quicks have got a problem with the front foot, and as a quick bowler it is more of an issue.
Some
Stuart
bowlers
Broad is just chirping away with the umpire now.
Yeah, some bowlers more than others as well, Macca. It affects some people more than others. It really affected my bowling. You can see it's affecting Ben Stokes. He's falling over a lot. He hits the front foot really hard, and his toes, he always has struggle with his toes anyway, doesn't he? And there's a lot of movement there.
Well, Leach will start a new over. That's a good ball, just outside of off stump. Grips, turns a little bit, goes through to Ben Foakes, and there's no run.
See, they couldn't do that to Axar Patel. Left that on just outside off stump line, and it's turned away even more. With Axar Patel today, he got a lot of his wickets with a ball that went straight on with the arm. And England couldn't play straight ball, not the turning ball. We did all right against that.
Slip in place. Short leg for Leach. Rohit Sharma's got 41 from 56 balls, and England are moving Jofra Archer into a straightish mid-wicket, sort of in the field, in 30-metre fielding circle if it was a one-day game. There's a backward point, an extra cover. Now Jack Leach just wants to double check with Joe Root that everyone is exactly where they should be. There's a deep square leg on the boundary for Leach as he goes in, left arm around. Rohit Sharma just drops into the offside, and there is the easiest of singles. And That was so easy, that's almost untrue. 42 he goes to, India 73 for 2, replying to England's 112.
Well, they picked a good gap there, didn't they? It was hit out just in front of Stuart Broad. Let's say he's not as young as he used to be, old Stuart. Don't move as well as he used to. Bowled a few overs as well. Bit slow off the mark.
You'd have hated that as a bowler though, wouldn't you? Cool. Leach around the wicket. Kohli very solidly forward, pushing out on the offside, no run.
I think it helps Stuart with being the senior pro alongside Jimmy Anderson. They probably get away with a little bit more. The value they bring to the team, or there are 1,000 test wickets between them, and a few years and a few caps.
Leach in, Kohli plays on the offside, will get a single out to Stuart Broad, who is doing backward point. Kohli goes to 18, 74 for 2.
I'm surprised he's actually fielding there. He's bowling left arm spin, turning away from the right-hander. If you play it and you're playing with a spin, it's going to go a lot to backward point, and they've got Stuart Broad in that position.
Yeah, it's not exactly a position he can get his rest in. Leach in, it's Rohit who's playing it on the paddle. Ollie Pope under the helmet, made to run towards short fine leg, but actually Rohit had got in a tangle and it just blobbed out towards mid-wicket. They end up taking a single, it's 75 for 2.
Now that's where Stuart should be fielded, in mid-wicket to the left-arm spinner, and having a better fielder, somebody who moves a little bit better at backward point, especially to the left-arm Jack Leach.
Leach goes in, and Virat Kohli for the final ball of the over is just pushing out on the offside. Johnny Bairstow fields, and there's no run. 75 for 2 India here on Talk Sport 2. It's commentary of the third test between India and England on Talk Sport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times. Their cricket coverage is led by former England captains Mike Atherton and Sir Alistair Cook. Ours here on Talk Sport 2 is led by Darren Gough.
Won't go that far. They've made it look quite comfortable, haven't they, India, the last 4 or 5 overs. I think you can see with Rohit Sharma now, he's looking like he's found his feet. He feels as though he's in. He feels as though he can take a few more risks. With Virat, we know what he's like. As soon as he comes to the crease, he's always busy looking to score. He's always looking to improve as a cricketer. He's an absolute great. You could put him down as an absolute great now, couldn't you? I mean, Virat Kohli, if he finished his career tomorrow, he's been a superb cricketer for many years in all formats. In fact, both these cricketers, if you were picking an all format 11, they'd both be in it.
So Stokes to bowl to Rohit Sharma. 2 slips in place, goes in, that's an effort ball, dug in, but Rohit's on top of that one, working it around to backward square leg. Zach Crawley will do the fielding out on the boundary, and they will take a couple. 77 for 2.
He played that rather easily, didn't he? Short ball from Ben Stokes, just out it on its way around the corner, kind of half pull shot. Nice little 2.
By the way, as we've got the seamer on, I've got a little bit of time to mention this. Congratulations to Danny Rubin from the ECB, the press officer who is normally with the team, but he's back at home at the moment. And congratulations to Danny and Hattie, his wife, because Jack Thomas Max came into the world this morning at 3:40. Obviously thought it was a day game, not a day-night game, but still in plenty of time. So congratulations to Danny and to Hattie on the birth of your child. I think Danny had done something like 60-odd consecutive Test matches with the team before he headed home in Chennai. That's good going. We're mentioning about how many games Manners had done earlier. Danny's forever with the team, Goffey, and you'll know him well.
Top man, absolute top man. Loves his rugby.
Does indeed.
League.
In goes Stokes. Rohit Sharma gets one to actually that bounces a little bit on him, but goes straight, and he's punching out into the cover, no run.
The real rugby macker, rugby league. He loves it.
He does love it. We've had many a conversation about rugby on tour.
And Leeds United football, loves Leeds United.
Yep.
Yeah, congratulations. Absolutely. I think he's the missus as well. She works for Sky, doesn't she?
She does, Hattie, yes.
Yeah, Hattie works for Sky.
She does, yes. Used to work for ECB as well. She's worked for in many places across cricket.
Yeah, congratulations to both. I'm sure you're probably listening. Hattie might be in a bit more of a daze than Danny at this stage, but I'm sure you're listening.
Little disappointed if she's not listening, though, to be fair.
Oh, I'll be very disappointed.
It was 4:30 in the morning, yeah, that was hours ago.
Yeah, you've had a chance to recover. Right, they are still digging away at the footholds. And what was very telling, actually, when they brought out the big metal plate attached to the scaffolding pole earlier and were whacking it down, we actually got a view from the stump cam, and it was telling just the stump cam was shaking. I'll come back to that in a second as Stokes goes in, outside portion of Rohit's bat, and it will go away between the gap between second slip and gully. Johnny Bairstow will go back and retrieve it, and Rohit has a boundary that'll take him to 49, India 81 for 2.
What sort of position is Johnny Bairstow fielding at there? Has anybody quite worked it out? It's almost like a fly slip on this sort of pitch. We're waiting for the short ball. It's like it's like a deep fifth slip, isn't it? It's in no man's land. If he catches one there, I'll eat my hat.
Well, they've got a close gully with under a helmet, and then Johnny Bairstow stationed deep.
But what?
I can't quite see the theory there. Stokes down the leg side. Rohit Sharma clips into the onside and will have another 50 to his name. He goes to 50 from 63 deliveries. India 82 for 2. It means they now only trail by 30 runs on first innings as Rohit Sharma brings up his 12th Test match 50.
That's an excellent 50 from Rohit Sharma. Just 63 deliveries. Everybody thinks he's been quite watchful today, but if you look at that, just 63 deliveries again from Rohit Sharma. When you talk about the importance of getting runs in the first innings, he did it in that last Test match, and India went on to win the game, and he's doing it again now.
In comes Stokes, and Kohli is playing a little bit away from his body, and that went to Ollie Pope, the man who is under a helmet, as sort of a short backward point. So Goffey, look, you said you don't quite understand it. They've obviously come up with a theory at the end of the over. 83 for 2 are India. What do we think that theory is?
Well, the theory is to throw the odd wide one in at Virat Kohli, and hopefully he throws his hands at it, leaning backwards. So they've got Ollie Pope at it used to be a fielding position they used in the one-day game, because they had to put 2 fielders in close, didn't they, catching, and they always felt that the ball might go off square against the new ball, and if it goes up, it had to basically be a miss it for you to catch it otherwise, because if it gets hit there, it's going pretty quick, right? And the other one again is that kind of fifth slip, but is almost halfway back to the boundary, is for that wider ball or the wide short ball, which he tries to help on its way over third man. So it's there for 2 reasons, but I'm not quite sure it's the right pitch for it.
Has he played a shot like that? I can't
Not
think of him.
He pulls them, doesn't he? He likes to pull.
Because I mean, that's his shot. So unless they think he's going to splice one off a pull, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I agree. I think the 2 strange positions. Obviously, one's there for the drive. They don't think he's going to get his foot to the ball, and it might go up to a square, close point. That's what I can only describe it.
Well, the other option is, if we're going, what on earth's he doing there? They might be making the batsman trying to think exactly the same thing.
Well, a fly slip is normally a lot finer, isn't he? So he's quite wide. That's why I just think it's a strange position.
James Anderson is going to be back into the bowling, replacing Jack Leach. He's bowled 6 overs so far that have cost only 6 runs. He's going to bowl to Virat Kohli. 2 slips. Regulation gully, backward point for Anderson as he goes in, right arm over the wicket, and that ball doesn't offer to shape, and it hits the middle of Virat Kohli's bat as he stretches a long way forward and there's no run. And that's something else actually, Goffey, we need to mention. About the first 5 or 6 overs it was swinging. Since then, absolutely nothing of this ball.
Well, it's 25 overs old now, isn't it, as well? It don't look in too bad a condition, the ball. We've seen it pretty close up. We're having a good look at it now on the screens. It looks well looked after. The seam's still there, but yeah, there's no swing whatsoever. It's got a nice shine on one side, but if Jimmy can't swing it, no one's swinging it.
Absolutely. He's on his way. Past the umpire, bowls right arm over, and Virat Kohli again is very solidly forward, punching it to Zach Crawley at short extra, and that gets to Zach Crawley in very, very short time. There's no run, remains 83 for 2.
And the thing with Jimmy as well, when he does swing it against Virat Kohli, you do fancy he's in the game, and he's proved that over the years with dismissing Virat Kohli, especially in English conditions. But when it doesn't swing, the one thing though with Jimmy, we know he's not going to give away too many bad deliveries. It's just a fine, smooth action, Jimmy Anderson, and he doesn't give you many 4 balls.
I think I'm right in saying there's still 13 and a half overs to go today, in theory. which we've got, 35 minutes to play, so we will lose some overs, but this game is so well advanced. Coley gets a ball from Anderson. He's just guiding it down to Gully, and there is no run. So the game is so advanced, actually, the time lost won't be a factor, but we will lose overs on the day, Jared.
Just been looking up some information on the Bairstow fielding position, the short wide third man. What do you call it? Long fifth slip, you called it?
long. What is it called?
Oh, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense
No
to
man's
me.
land.
He's played 8 uppercuts in his Test cricket career, so I don't think he's there for that shot. So that makes even less sense.
Anderson goes in and Coley leaves it, no run.
Sorry, Macca. I actually think it's just for a length ball that's wide, and he might drive at one and slash it to that man. I mean, what are the odds on it? I mean, come on.
It's funny you say that, because that was the sort of thing that I was thinking as well, except that Rohit doesn't really slash. He's actually quite controlled with it. Like, if that was Sehwag, you'd be like, that makes sense. Even Gill, perhaps. But that's not really a shot that Rohit Sharma does. I'm chatting with one of the analysts on CricViz at the moment. We can't work it out from an analyst point of view, let alone from any other reason. Unless, Bairstow just smells at the moment.
Anderson, right arm over the wicket, solidly forward is Virat Kohli. And there is no run. He's faced 37 balls now for 19, Kohli. 63 balls for Rohit's 50. That is the second 50 of the day. Zach Crawley made 53 from 84 balls earlier today, but on the 84th he was LBW to Akshar Patel. England 112 all out in 48 overs and 4 balls. So Zach Crawley getting almost half of the England total on his own.
The thing about Rohit Sharma, his figures are just coming up on the screen now, nearly averages 47, right? And there's still a lot of people out there think he's not good enough to play Test cricket. I find amazing, I really do.
Anderson goes in, Kohli pushing out on the offside, no run.
I've got a good one for you on that, Goffey. At Sydney, he went out trying to smash Nathan Lyon back over his head, and he got caught. He picked the wrong ball, went down, probably should have pulled out of it. Everyone says he should never play Test cricket again. This is a horrible shot. Against England, in the last Test when he made his runs, he pulled a ball over deep backward square's head. Didn't cover him by that much off the pull shot. Easily could have been caught. Imagine going out caught pulling on that pitch, what they would have said. But it's exactly the same thing. The difference is that one shot came off because he executed it perfectly and the other one he didn't. That is what you're going to get from him.
Absolutely. I think he's an unbelievable player. And when you're an opening bowler, the last thing you want is a batsman who, you've got a chance of getting him out, but who can take the game away from you, start scoring runs, and scoring runs quickly.
He does it so easily.
Michael Slater used to do it 20 years before anybody else. I mean, it's horrible to bowl at. KP did it. Look how he took the game. Adam Gilchrist, take the game away from you.
Most of the best cricket teams ever have had at least one very attacking opening batsman, someone who can put the pressure right back on the bowling team early on. Like if you think of Greenwich and Hayden.
Sehwag was one of the best at it, right? So they've obviously seen the success he had playing that sort of way, and he's almost like for like, isn't he? That's what they see him as.
Well, I think with Gill there, they're thinking they might have 2 of them as well. Because you can't really stop Gill once he gets going.
He didn't look right today, Gill, did he? His feet weren't moving. He just didn't look at the races today. But he's still a young player, fantastic talent.
I think the thing with both of them is there aren't obvious areas to stop them scoring. I know Harmy thinks that maybe bouncing Gill might go forward, but he's still going to score a lot. He's still going to get that ball away. You can get those guys out. I'm not sure you can stop them scoring, which is going to be, when they're both going at the same time, it's going to be incredible.
Long discussion, and it's going to end up with Jack Leach replacing Ben Stokes. Stokes bowled 3 overs for 19, so Leach will come back into the attack. He's got 1 for 23, and this will be his 7th over. He'll be bowling to Rohit with a short leg and a slip in place. Left arm around the wicket, and in he comes now. Rohit's just quietly pushing out on the offside. Virat Kohli comes down 3 or 4 paces just to say, if you want to come, I'll back you up, mate. But Rohit said, thank you very much, I'll stay put. Rohit waits, just crouches his knees a touch, waits, and then just puts the pad in line with the stumps, just in case, because he knows that the ball from Leach is outside of off stump and will spin further away, just covering the line in case, and it's through to Folkes. No run. Leach in. That's the arm ball going in onto off stump. Rohit will play it out on the offside. Will take a single. And that is all there is. He goes to 51, 84 for 2 on TalkSport 2.
Yeah, these two are doing that well as well. We talk about changing momentum, and they keep looking for that single, don't they? In on the offside against the left arm spinner Jack Leach.
And that's the 50 partnership off just 65 balls. They came together 34 for 2. India were 33 without loss, then 34 for 2. And these two, as so many times before, have steadied the ship.
Well, it's about partnerships, Macca, and that's what England have not done the last 3 innings at the crease.
Leach goes in, Kohli strongly forward, and there is no run. Well, absolutely. If you haven't been with us since the start, England losing their last 8 wickets for 38 runs in only 162 balls, 27 overs. The final 8 wickets went down in. Silly points going in for Kohli as Leach goes around the wickets. Oh, and that's an absolute ripper past the outside edge. It bounces so much that Ben Foakes is almost having to reach vertically for that, and he ends up just knocking it down.
Trouble is, I don't like it when the England batsmen are quite lively behind the stumps, liking the fact that it's turning and bouncing.
That was a beauty. This occasion, Kohli's out to meet that one, pushing it to James Anderson at backward point, no run.
Not when you're 112 all out and India are sitting at 84 for 2. I think there's only one team that should be laughing at this moment in time, and that's India.
Well, there's still plenty going on out in the middle. There's still lots of discussion. England feel that they've been, in inverted commas, robbed of a couple of wickets today. Stuart Broad with his catch that Ben Stokes was adjudged to have not taken cleanly, which I think generally speaking we're in the conclusion actually that was the right call. Then they also feel that they've been wrongly done by on a couple of other reviews, not only in this game but in previous games as well. It's been a tough old day for England, this one.
Yeah, but Maka, when you look at what runs have been scored during the first day, it tells the story. But what India have got is 2 bowlers that can create pressure in Patel and Ashwin, where they can put pressure on England, create pressure by bowling maidens, and England have found that very hard, especially in this final session of the day.
So James Anderson, right arm over. Rohit is just dropping it into the onside, and there's no run. So we are at the official close of 9:30 Indian time, which is 4 o'clock UK time, but we have not bowled the overs. There are still 12 overs to be bowled, so we're not going to get 12 overs in unless England absolutely rattle through, and I can't see why they'd want to do that. So we might well lose a couple on this first day of this third test match. 1-1 in the series, and this one therefore pivotal for the series. Anderson goes in, inside portion of Rohit's bats, onto his pad and rolls out, no run.
Good length though, Macca, making the batsman come forward where he can't drive without taking a risk. That's the length Jimmy Anderson we've seen so many times all around the world, and they're the areas he's got to get it in. It gives him a chance. He has got that pink ball, it is under lights, there is a bit of carry towards the keeper. If he can just find that edge of Rohit Sharma's bat and take him with him tonight, it would be a huge wicket for England.
England want 1 or maybe 2 this evening if possible. Rohit turns this off the hip through square legs. Sibley will do the fielding, just a single. Rohit goes to 52, India 85 for 2. Well, I say 1, as Kevin Peterson keeps saying. In India, it's not 1 brings 2, sometimes 1 brings 3. And England have got to be properly greedy this evening, Goffey. If they get an opening, they've got to push that door wide open, because otherwise this game is just going through their fingers like sand.
But the 1 brings 3 tends to be against spin, doesn't it? And unfortunately, let's say we got 1 first choice spinner in our side, that's Jack Leach. There'll be a lot of pressure on him in this game to hold up one end while the seamers attack, because that's the way England have gone into this game. Back in their seam over spin.
Here comes Anderson. Rohit just playing from the crease, dropping it out on the offside. No run. Actually, on that, Goffey, England went with 1 frontline spinner with Jack Leach. They do have Joe Root, of course, who we actually have watched do a lot of bowling in practice, and he has come on leaps and bounds. Was there not a case for Joe Root bowling himself in this spell, or would that maybe highlight the fact that they've gone in with the wrong team?
Well, or are they thinking?
Anderson goes in, Virat off the back foot. Oh my goodness, that is going away at a rate of knots. Off the back foot, punch through cover, all along the carpet. Virat Kohli goes to 23, India 89 for 2.
Well, I tell you what, I was a fan of Virat Kohli before this series, but just commentating on these games here, I mean, that is outstanding. The timing. Jimmy Anderson, what's he got? Oh dear me. Just puts his bat. Everybody, I can't even describe it. It's just back foot punch, absolutely beautiful.
The fielder was 5 metres away from it and knew he didn't have a price. I mean, that's just a wonderful, wonderful shot.
As a fast bowler, when you're running in and someone plays that back foot punch off you, it's almost like, time for spinners. Give someone else a go. Nice. The other shot is where they hit your back past mid-on, where another time you're thinking, oh dear, where am I going to bowl to this kid? But Virat Kohli, as I said, I've been commentating on him this series. I already thought it was a great, but just watching some of the innings he's already played in this series, without getting a big one, by the way, without getting a biggie. It's not like Rohit Sharma got 160, but some of the innings he's played under pressure have been outstanding.
Broad and Anderson have done many things down the years together for an English bowling lineup. Now we've got to the stage where Stuart Broad has to get all the dirt and the muck out of the studs of James Anderson's boots, because the umpire can't do it for him, so Stuart Broad's had to go over, and so they're teaming up now to clean each other's boots.
Should have put a horseshoe on him. Looked like he was doing that, didn't it?
Well, he's a thoroughbred.
Hey. Very good. Anderson in. He looks light on his feet still at this stage. Virat Kohli pushing out on the offside, no run.
He don't look happy, Jimmy, does he? I mean, oh dear, he's thinking, say to Stuart, I think we've gone in with the wrong attack here.
I think what he said was, "You'll go next over, mate."
Get loose.
28 overs gone, 89 for 2. That means that India are scoring at 3.2 and over. They only need to score 113 to be in credit on the first innings. Rohit Sharma has 52. Virat Kohli has 23. Steve Harmison's going to come in for the final, 25 minutes or so of today's play. And I imagine, Harmy, you like Goffey feel for both Stuart Broad and James Anderson and Jofra Archer to an extent, because at the moment there's very little happening for the big fast and nasties.
Yeah, there's not much happening for the quick bowlers. Leach is getting some assistance, but these guys, these players, these Indian batsmen are used to facing bowlers like Jack Leach on this sort of surface. But you thought with the lights being on, the pink ball, there might have been something a little bit more for the seam department, but it hasn't been the case after that dinner break.
Leach, left arm around. Rohit comes forward and just drops it into the offside. Anderson will field, and there is no run.
And England haven't bowled badly. Say there's not a great deal happening, but England haven't bowled badly. It's just when you've got a score of 112 on the board, you sometimes have to take risks that you don't want to do.
Leach goes in. Rohit from the crease plays quietly back down the pitch, no run. Yeah, it's the scoreboard pressure effect in reverse, isn't it? In the fact that there is no pressure from 112, and in fact all the pressure is actually on you now as a bowling unit to get the batters out of jail. 40,000 people enjoying this one today. It's amazing how they're always round numbers, isn't it? Leach goes in, Rohit flicks around the corner, and that is a brilliant attempt by Ollie Pope at short leg, who has taken off and actually managed to get height. He's gone vertically, Superman style. He's taking high fives from Ben Stokes. Virat Kohli's grinning, gives him a tap on the backside with his bat. I mean, that would have been one of the all-time great pieces of fielding. Virat Kohli watching at the non-striker's end, Rohit Sharma down on one knee. It's the paddle sweep attempted. Pope knows he's going, and he's actually dived with the left hand to his right hand side and gets a full hand on it. It's a brilliant stop. I'm not going to call that a dropped catch, because that was just so good. Kohli, next ball, pushes back up the pitch, no run.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been one of the all-time great catches at short leg, but we've just seen the England captain there, and the sigh, wry smile on his face. That nothing is going for us. Fantastic effort.
Oh, another brilliant delivery from Jack Leach. Rips it past Virat Kohli's outside edge. Folks whiffs off the bails. Virat's back foot had never left the crease. Although I think Ben Folks is just pointing out he was quite close. But that again is another ripper of a delivery that's turned and bounced. That's gone from middle and leg and wouldn't have hit another stump outside of off stump. And bounced. Play that. Go on, give it a go. Final ball of the over. Leach in. One that doesn't turn as much, and Virat is playing it off of the back foot. Takes a single as it goes out to Dom Sibley, who is patrolling the cover boundary. Kohli goes to 24. He'll keep the strike for the first ball of the next over. 29 overs have been bowled by England. In this innings, India are 91 for 2. Some more thoughts from Steve Harmison, and Neil Manthorpe will take you through to the close of play.
Yeah, it was a beauty by Jack Leach, and that's what we've had in this day so far, Manners. We've had balls that have spun sharp and severe and bounced. Axar Patel got a few to go, and so did Ravi Ashwin. But the one that seems to have caused all the problems for the England batsmen was the ones that went straight on. And if you look at the way India are, they're 92 for 2. Two fantastic players in Rohit and Kohli in. They're playing the ball nice and easy. The straight ball, hitting it back down the ground, looking to score. And if the one spins big, then they're the ones that they're playing and leaving on its merits. So from that point of view, you can just see a team that are totally in control, playing against spin, against a team who really, were rabbit in the headlights when they've seen the spinning ball and they're thinking everything's going to spin. Well, it isn't always the case.
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I think possibly the reason they've struggled with the ones that skid straight on is because some of them are turning, if you know what I mean. So
they can't put that out their mind.
Yeah, they've got out to the straight ones because some of them are turning. Yeah, it's been a nightmare day for England. Let's not get away from that. Here's Jimmy Anderson, and that one is steered into the gully and dropped. Oh dear me. Well, Virat Kohli was trying to run it down to third man. Ollie Pope dived to his right, got both hands to it, and he's put it down in the gully, and he can't believe it. In the previous over, he almost pulled off a miraculous catch, and that was one that he should have held.
Yeah, you nearly pulled off one of the all-time great short leg catches, and he's just dropped Virat Kohli. When you've only got 20 runs to play with, a regulation gully catch, more or less at his right hip. Yeah, that's it. Grabs it, drops it, tries to grab it again. Kohli knows. Good bowling by Anderson, but
Anderson in again, full this time, and defended by Virat Kohli.
That's the exact shot you play when you are trying to give slips catches before play. I mean, that's essentially what he has done there. It looked like he was doing that. He just practiced a proper cut shot, hitting the ball into the ground. That was he looked like he was trying to anchor the ball straight to where Ollie Pope was standing.
But it also it tells you this is what Jimmy Anderson brings. It brings the mindset of the batsman. You're always having to play. You're always under pressure when James Anderson is bowling, and that's what's just happened there. Even the good and the great, Virat Kohli, still under pressure against Anderson, and England not a very big score on the board. The last thing you want to do is drop one of the all-time greats of the game.
Did bounce a little bit more than previous deliveries from Jimmy Anderson.
There's certainly been a little bit of inconsistent bounce all day, hasn't there?
A little bit.
Yeah, not massive. And as KP noted early on, it's been outside off stump.
India 91 for 2 in reply to England's 112. Here is Anderson once again, and Kohli comes forward and pushes it up towards mid-off, and there's no run. Jimmy Anderson none for 11 from 8.5 overs.
Manners, there'll be a lot made at the end when we reflect on the day. There'll be a lot made of the team selection. Broad and Anderson should we have played Bess? Catch has gone down, possible things, not DRS, not going our way. The end of the day, the top and bottom of it is we haven't scored enough runs, and that's been our Achilles heel in the subcontinent for why when England lose and when teams lose, this is the problem.
Anderson in once again, and pushed up towards mid-on, straight to the field. I mean, it's one thing, isn't it? If you make 220, then you can point to the rub of the green and whatever. But it's a bit like losing a football game 6-0 and saying it's because the field was a bit bumpy. You know, there were bare patches in the
It's
goal
like,
area.
it's like losing 6-0 and saying, you know, your striker didn't look like in the game. I was like, well, if you didn't get the ball to him, he's not going to score a goal.
Virat Kohli on 24 on strike now. Jimmy Anderson in outside the off stump, left alone. Folks takes, and India remain 91 for 2. They're just 21 behind.
So I'm just having a look at the pitch map, and on the BCCI website they have a variable bounce thing, which basically means anything that's blue is going to hit the stumps, anything that's red is not going to hit the stumps, and generally there's a line in the middle where the balls don't cross over, and once the pitch is inconsistent, there will be red on one side and there will be blue on the other side. So that's how you know if there's variable bounce. There is a spot outside off stump. I'm not sure if it's at both ends at the moment. We might find out more about that as the game goes on.
Anderson in once again, and steered by Kohli into the gully where Pope fields.
But there is a spot about 6 to 8 meters. So what's that? That's just back of a length, maybe
Yeah,
slightly.
just back of a length.
Yeah. Outside of stump?
Probably Broad's length and Anderson's length.
Yeah, definitely. Outside of stump more so than anywhere else, where the ball is definitely behaving a little bit inconsistent. And it's exactly where Anderson was just bowling in that over. So perhaps both teams have already seen that. I would say that Jofra Archer, Jasprit Bumrah and Ishant Sharma will be the best ones because they have that natural angle in a little bit more towards that place. But that might be something worth watching when England bat, especially.
Hang on a sec. So the BCCI's website tells you about uneven bounce, but it doesn't tell you spin and swing?
If you have a look at how big the display is on the screen that I'm working off. It is about an inch and a half. And if you go and you want to see beehive placement, they've put they've put a big thing right across. You can't even see it.
But they share the information on uneven bounce, but not how much the ball is spinning or swinging or seaming.
And speeds. They don't share that one either. Although it goes up on the TV, so you could
do we
actually write
deduce
them all
from
down.
that bounce is the least important piece of information.
So basically what they're saying is they give you what they want.
And
it's all so small that it doesn't matter anyway. Like actually,
I was going to say, if you open that on your phone, you'd have a bigger screen.
You can't see in front of off stump on the beehive. I'm not sure. Maybe no one's bowled there.
Slipping a short leg in. Jack Leach continues to. Rohit Sharma comes forward and pushes it square of the wicket on the offside to 53 to Rohit Sharma. Virat Kohli has 24. Jack Leach, the sole front line spin. I thought that Joe Root might have given himself an over before the close of play, and he might still do that because we still have another 13 minutes or so of play before close comes to an end. As Leach is in again, Rohit comes forward and pushes out towards cover. And again, there's no run.
Yeah, you say about Joe Root coming into bowl, but I think while the lights are on, you've got a ball like this, you've got to really trust your seamers. That's what they're in a team for, and that's what you've got to go with.
Here is Leach once again. Bowled him! Oh, that's beautiful stumping work from Folks. He's appealed, but I don't think Rohit dragged his back foot out of the crowd. I'm pretty sure he didn't.
Stokes was looking good here. He thinks it's out.
Oh, really? Well, he's ripped it past the outside edge. Beautiful bowling from Jack Leach, as he often does. Goes a little bit more air than the conventional spinner. Oh, and Rohit Sharma, that back foot might be on the line. Tell you what, folks, his glove work, has he got himself another stumping? He's back. His back foot's gone back, but is it in the air?
The first light blink.
Steve Harmison's given it out.
I think this is out. I really do. I think he's in the air. I think if anything, he's slightly in the air.
The crease mark has disappeared. So where the batsman has actually
Foot is grounded. Where the stumps are broken. I have
foot is
made
grounded,
my decision.
he says. Oh, he's made a very quick. So tell you what, doesn't hang around, doesn't Chetahodi Shamshuddin, the third umpire. He's snappy work. We often sit here in the commentary box thinking, "Why not? Come on, that's obviously in or out. Just make your decision."
Wait a minute.
Well, hang on. He's had a quick look at that, a very quick look at that for the second time in the game.
He's not even
England
looked at all the
cannot
angles.
believe he's given it not out already.
And that's what Joe Root is saying to the umpire right now. You have not looked at all the angles.
He's looked at one angle.
Joe Root has just said there to the umpire, Rohit Sharma's walking off. Rohit Sharma in the background shaking his head. Yeah, he thinks he's out. Rohit Sharma thinks he's out. The stump angle would have been the best one, but we've seen one angle and he's just dismissed it. This is poor umpiring.
Irrespective of the decision, it is based on a single replay from one angle. That in itself is simply unacceptable.
I'm going to say this. I'm pretty sure he did get back in. I'm pretty sure there's another camera angle we will see where he's back in.
Gut feel
but
says
we have
that you're
not
right.
seen enough evidence for that. The protocols, again, are not being followed.
exactly right. What's the point in having 5 angles if you're just going to go on one? Well,
Something else to think about here as well. Where their batting crease is, there's a little bowl
yeah.
where they are. If you look, there's a little bowl where Rohit Sharma's right foot is. So that's where he's got to get back in. So he's got to go deeper.
Leach again, a little too wide of the off stump, and it's left alone. And also the crease mark has, because it's right towards the end of the day and it was remarked after the dinner interval, it's now worn away. So that makes the job more difficult. But Chetihadi Shamsuddin, the third umpire, has very, very snappy work, in a polite way of putting it. Here's Leach again outside the off stump. More smart glove work from Ben Folkes, who whips the bails off from well outside the off stump, but definitely Rohit Sharma. Well, he's actually retreated into the crease, his back foot, by a further 6 inches after that close stumping. And yeah, okay, well, we won't go on about the third umpiring, but it has been awkward. Outside the off stump here, left alone again by Rohit Sharma. Awkwardly quick. And as I said, I'll be the first to admit that, often we say, you don't need to look at 3 or 4 or 5 angles, because clearly the evidence of the first 2 or 3 has been sufficient. And, we sit around for minutes needlessly, but you can't possibly make a decision. That'd be thrown out in a court of law.
It's just, I think we're getting more and more to the point where we need a specialist third umpire. We need umpires who understand this, who do this day in, day out. It's a completely different job than normal umpiring. A normal umpire would look at that and go, that looks into me, I'll give it in. That is not what the job of a third umpire is.
Yeah, but Jared, this is... You say you get somebody that is used to doing that job. Surely this is common sense. This is your own personal pride. You want to get everything right. So if I'm going to get everything right, I want to have the best angle. And when Manas is there, sometimes we do say, oh, well, surely you've seen enough. If I'm the umpire, I'm not bothered what other people think. I want to make sure 100%, categorically 100%, I've got this right. And that just one, we haven't even seen, I don't know what's going on here, but we haven't even seen another angle from it. So whether there's a bit of controversy and they don't want to show us.
Here is Jofra Archer back into the attack, and that's beautifully driven. Such a gorgeous straight back cover drive from Virat Kohli, and it's gone straight to the field and no run.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem within cricket as well, that host broadcasts are run by cricket boards at times, or pressure is put on because we don't know what we're not seeing. It could be completely harmless, and as I said, I thought his foot was back, but we haven't seen another angle. So what have we got to go on?
Here is Archer once again. That pops up into the air off the inside edge. There's no short leg in place. Might have been in business had there been one, but they'll go 3 for 2 runs instead, and India move on to 93 for 2. Without going into massive detail, Jared, you know what comes to my mind? You said it's about time we had specialist third umpires. The NBA Replay Centre.
And the NHL and the MLB and the NFL, they all have them. They have they train referees and umpires to be specialists in this, to know exactly what to do, so they don't panic, they're not worried about it, they do it day in, day out, and they also have much more computer power because they're offline.
To be honest, the Premier League could do the same because of that VAR.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, see, I mean, it costs hundreds of millions of dollars, but what I'm saying is that when the NBA have games all around the country, all of the effectively third umpire decisions, I don't know what they're called in basketball, but those third umpire decisions are all made from a centre in Dallas, Texas, I think it is. It's one great big building. No, Chicago, I think it is.
In football's the same. Premier League football's the same.
Chicago.
The VAR's done by a referee who's an on-field referee, and I think it should be somebody who can work with the technology and go with that. You do have to have an element of experience of being out there in the middle. But that was wrong, that third umpire.
No, absolutely wrong. Pushed out towards deep mid-wicket by Rohit Sharma, I beg your pardon, and that's excellent work. Oh, Jack Leach, almost excellent work. He ran 30-35 yards at full pace, bent down to pick the ball up and just couldn't bend down far enough. Just when he thought he had it covered, it's been clipped away to the mid-wicket boundary for 4.
Yeah, it should be said that all those decisions that are made off-site by the American sports are real referees and umpires. It's just that they, some of them are now just specialist TV umpires rather than... So they all know the game and have refereed at various levels. But it's I've had a lot of chats with umpires for this. They say it's a fundamentally different thing than normal umpiring. Not that their umpiring skills don't help, but it's just it's a different thing, and you need to know what to ask for. And a lot of them don't feel comfortable with it as well.
India are now just 14 runs behind England. 98 for 2. Archer in again, and Rohit plays defensively.
I actually think
trickles out on the offside.
Sorry, I actually think, Manners, that last delivery, the ball before that, just probably sums up the day. Rohit Sharma's got a ball, middle stump, picked it up, beautiful shot, lovely timing through mid-wicket off Jofra Archer, and it trickles out and it sums England's day up. Jack Leach has had to run a long way, put a lot of effort into it, and the easiest part of that bit of fielding was actually just picking the ball up, and he didn't do it. So
Archer in again once on last ball of the over, and it's blocked off the, not so much the back foot, just standing tall at the crease, Rohit Sharma, and he remains on 57. Virat Kohli on 27, and just when you thought England might be able to salvage something from the day, they are only leading by 14, having been bowled out for 112.
I was going to say, can you think of too many first days that have been more brutal and one-sided? I know the 10-11 Ashes at the MCG. Yeah, Australia were bowled out and England went past them without losing a wicket. This isn't quite as bad as that, but it's not far away either.
Such a massive occasion, sense of occasion, and it's still not unsalvageable, but it's certainly not much more than a couple of turrets on the England ships showing above water at this stage, but it's salvageable. You can still see.
It's still good. Well, it's just a little dusty. It's still good.
The orchestra is still playing, and we've got 4 days to go. We won't use them all. Slip and a silly mid-off as Jack Leach continues to Virat Kohli. He steers it to backward point, straight to Jimmy Anderson. No run there. Much will be said and written and explored about team selection, obviously, but England can't afford to think about that. They just got to work with what they've got. Here is Leach again, bowled in off the bottom edge, looking to cut it down to third man. Virat Kohli cannot believe what he's done. He smashes his bat onto his helmet. He's got a bottom edge and chopped it onto his off stump. Harmless, unthreatening delivery, you would think. Virat Kohli saw it as a run-scoring opportunity, tried to chop it down. It just perhaps drifted into him, and it was too close to play the shot. He was cramped for room, and well, it's 98 for 3 late in the day.
Manners, it's that straight ball again. It's the straight ball again. This straight ball is done for Virat Kohli. He's got a few that's turned and gone past the outside edge, but he's got one that's just literally just gone on with the arm. Inside edge, thick inside edge, onto the stumps. Ben Stokes is jubilant. Jack Leach is jubilant. Virat Kohli's absolutely gutted. He's devastated because he's seen coming out tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 in 35 degrees heat and really cashing in. Hopefully England can cash in now, between now and what is a big 3 or 4 minutes, because if England can get another one, they'll feel as though they're just dragging the game back towards them.
I'm looking for the night watchman. Night watchman, anyone? Any takers? Night watchman? Going once? Going twice? Why not?
I think Rahani's going to.
I don't think India knew what to do themselves, but it is actually Ajinkya Rahane. I think he's. You know what I reckon might have happened? I reckon they could have had a watchman padded up, and then Ajinkya Rahane's gone. Hang on a minute. Hang on. Look, there's 3 minutes to go. I want to start tomorrow morning, because he's taken over a minute. You've only got 2 minutes, of course, before you get timed out, but he took over a minute to appear, so I think there was a last-minute change of mind. It's complete speculation.
We had a Durham when I first went in. Norman Gifford used to have 2 night watchmen. From half an hour out, we'd have number 8, number 9 batsmen ready for the half an hour to go, and then I think someone like me would put a pads on for the last over. Just, you'll get through that. That's it. You'll come off if they get a wicket in the last over. So possibly that's what's happened, and somebody hasn't read the memo to get the pads on, and Rahane's had to come out and bat. But what a chance this is for England. What a chance. If England can manage in this next 2 minutes, Either 4 balls if India can drag it out, or 10 balls if England can manage to nip another over in. What a chance it is to they're not in the game by any stretch of imagination, but if they can get Ajinkya Rahane or Rohit Sharma out tonight, what a confidence builder that would be going into tomorrow afternoon.
Just on your timed out, has that ever happened in Test cricket, Manus? Do you know?
Not in Test cricket.
No, there's been some good ones in first class cricket.
Yeah, there have. There's some terrific stories behind them as well, very often.
Vasbet Drakes was on a plane.
Here's Leach. Forward comes Ajinkya Rahane to the first delivery and blocks it away defensively on the offside.
He was going to struggle to make it, wasn't he? There was one in South Africa. Was it where the player was trying to get there, but the roads were flooded on his way to the ground?
Here is Leach again, beautifully bowled, flight and turn and a bit of bounce as well, and hits the outside half of the bat, no run.
Yadav, a player in India, was in a conversation with his team manager and apparently never looked up. And so they had to give him out.
There was the closest in a test match was actually Sourav Ganguly. Here's Leach again, and more turn outside half of the bat, and Ajinkya Rahane squeezes that one between slip and gully, or 2 slips, and they scurry through for a single. No, yes they do. They've got Ajinkya Rahane's off the mark. Sourav Ganguly appeared. He was it was in a test match early 2000s, and he was actually indisposed on the toilet, and he came out doing his pads up with about 10 seconds to go, strapping his pads on as he was hobbling onto the field. Because he had normally, if you are the next batsman in and you do need to have a break, you normally say to somebody, I'm going for a break now, so you're next in until I'm done. But that message didn't get through. Here is Leach once again, and pushed out towards Silly Point. And there's no run, the over comes to an end. India 99 for 3.
Well, we had that when I was in the CPL with St Lucia. We had a player who didn't look at the board to see that he was supposed to be getting batting in next, so he wasn't padded up, and poor Darren Sammy with no cartilage in his knees had to run down the Sabina Park stairs just to get out on the ground at time. Otherwise we would have lost a timed out. Good fun.
Indeed. Right, have we got time for one more over? Nitish Menon has walked in from Square Leg, and he said nope, the clock is up, we are done, and we've had 33 overs, add to England's 48.4 overs, and so we are a couple of overs short of the day's full allocation, but we have not been short of drama and incident and runs and wickets and a couple of half centuries. Rohit Sharma 57, Zach Crawley made 53. It is a massively eventful day on this test match, which has been so keenly anticipated even before the series began, never mind that it was tied at 1-1 going into this test match at the world's biggest cricket stadium, biggest venue, one of the best appointed as well. It's not just its size and its capacity. And from an England point of view, it's been bitterly disappointing. But from a drama and entertainment and incident point of view, it has it's left us all rather breathless. It feels like it's been a very, very long day, Steve Harmison.
It's been a very, very long day, and it was fascinating at the toss on who was going to get picked. There was a lot of to and fro, and especially in this room on Blake Broad, is it best? And the one thing that we did all agree on was no matter what team they picked and how the toss came down, they had to perform. And it's amazing when the straight ball in the test match has been the one that's got done all the damage and got all the wickets. And England will be disappointed from where they are in this test match, but they'll go into the end of play with a little spring in the step because they've got one of the all-time greats out. And they'll feel tomorrow morning, like Kevin Peterson said earlier in the piece, that sometimes in India you can put one on and then it becomes 3, potentially it becomes 4. So England will be hoping that will be the chat in the morning, and fingers crossed, because India massively ahead in the game, and England are going to need a little bit of luck tomorrow morning when they come back to Ahmedabad, when the sun will be shining and they've got a 33 overall ball.
Well, first day of the third test from the Sardar Patel Stadium in the suburb of Motera in Ahmedabad has come to an end. History tells us that there are very few ways back, having been bowled out for 112 in the first innings of a Test match. But history is changing all the time in this great game. It's being rewritten on a more regular basis these days than ever before. So England 112, India finished the day on 99 for 3.